It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Alan Roach. No, just kidding. Jeff Hunt and along with
so
Bill
deep.
Thorpe. I'm on my way to becoming Alan Roach.
Yeah, it's like you're going through puberty on the air. You remember that back when you were a teenager and you had those voice crackings? Oh, yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most embarrassing thing.
And what I hated most about that time was running into door posts.
Yeah.
Because your shoulders are all of a sudden expanding.
Oh,
in ways you're not used to, so you misjudge the door.
Oh, that's interesting.
Whap all the time.
That's interesting. Okay, that makes sense. That's a couple of years ago, I had a weird compliment from a nurse as I was going through visiting someone that was having surgery. The door was closing quickly, and I quickly tilted my shoulders, and she goes, "That was impressive." So it totally missed me. And that's probably where I learned that. Is it was one of those things that developed through soccer, etc. But I learned not to smash into things. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. But yeah, there were so many little things. Oh, that and your feet all of a sudden getting huge.
Yep.
I was like, what's this? Yeah. What's going on here? There was a point, I was a tiny kid until sophomore year in high school. And I think I grew 6 or 7 inches in about that many months. I remember my mom ripping her hair out because like, I just took you shopping and now those pants are short again. I just took you shopping. So yeah, they reloaded my wardrobe a little bit. And then like 4 months later, had to go reload it yet again. Yeah.
That was an interesting tangent about my voice. So
yeah, that is. How about you? When did you hit a growth spurt?
We ended up where Billy was getting close.
Yeah, exactly. When did you hit a growth spurt?
Between freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah. Okay. So mostly, again, we were talking puberty. So I figured, when does that hit?
Yep.
When does that? Did you have those guys that showed up at high school that were shaving already? Like freshman year, first day?
Yeah. My best friend was that way. He hit it earlier than everybody else.
Jeez.
He's the son of a Denver Bronco.
So. Oh, wow. That makes sense. Yeah, the dude that was right next to me in the locker, John Thomas, towered over me when I was a freshman. I'm a tiny little freshman. He's a freshman as well, and he must have been about at least 7 inches taller than I was and at least 170 pounds heavier and nearly a full beard. And I'm like, I have missed out on this whole puberty thing here. I'm like, I barely have a chest hair.
It is funny to watch those middle school dances where all the girls are just 2 feet taller than the boys.
Yeah. My daughter has Katie has a friend who she hit her growth spurt way too early. Her parents are very tall. In 5th grade, she was 6 foot. In 5th grade. It is ridiculous. And the funny part is,
you can't even fit in those desks.
No, and she's an adorable little girl. The funny part was she was so tall, it was like those Japanese anime movies where it's a little person inside of a big robot. Because it was this little girl in this giant person suit, and she's like, blah! She had no idea what all of her limbs were doing, and they're flailing everywhere, and she had no clue. And you're just like, I get it. It's like there's a little person inside there, but you're adult size. Yeah, it was so hard. Yeah, she struggled for a while because of that. Yeah.
Well, it is a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We've got a lot to cover, everything from wildfires to the Venezuelan gathering in Aurora. There's an editorial that came out from a Spanish newspaper. This was very interesting, saying basically what everybody else should have said, that people need to be held accountable for what happened. We'll cover that, give you an update on what's happening in Aurora. And then one of the most amazing interviews. Trump is so back. It is the media versus Donald Trump at the National Association of Black Journalists yesterday.
Wait, you call that amazing?
That was amazing. Absolutely.
Amazing. For me, amazing as far as his ability to self-immolate.
No.
That was remarkable. He sat on the stage and lit himself on fire.
No way. It was a great interview.
Okay. I'm really super curious about this one.
We're going to be covering this one. And is Kamala Indian or black? That was the big question that came up. And is she both? And can you just kind of pick which one you're going to be during the day? So we'll cover that in the 7 o'clock hour. And then all the news happening with Israel. Are we on the brink of war with Iran? Breaking news happening overnight about another death of a Hamas leader. You're not going to want to miss that. So lots to cover. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, real quickly, I have to do this. Now, Billy will probably get this, but every time you talk about growing and going through puberty, there's one song that comes to mind. Any idea, Billy?
Oh, I don't. I'm trying to think.
TV show.
No.
How about this?
Is it growing?
It's time to
Growing
change. You got to rearrange.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Peter Brady.
Yep. Yeah. Oh
People of my generation.
That's right. When he goes through that.
Think of growing up, you think of that dumb song on the Brady Bunch. But
I've forgotten about that. That is a good one.
Yeah,
because it is. I was thinking, you were going back to Growing Pains. Are we going? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
And I never watched that show.
Never.
But no, I never did.
Oh, you missed out. You missed out on the train.
Is that the one with the Olsen twins on it?
Growing Pains.
That
No,
was
Growing
Full
Pains.
House.
Yeah, it's Full House.
Full
Growing
House.
Pains is
Okay.
the Kirk Cameron vehicle.
I'll try to get I'll try to get that. It's time to change Peter Brady,
Oh, that
so
would be
Jeff
great.
can hear that one.
Yeah, he's got
I
to.
don't
I
know if
totally
he's ever
forgot
heard
about
that
That's
one.
a great callback.
I mean, I'll be in our house, and my 16-year-old will be at the other end of the house in the basement, or upstairs, whatever, and all of a sudden you'll hear ah. He's always stubbing his toe, his elbow, his legs, his arms. So I totally get it. Okay, I digress. Good morning. 62 and sunny in Denver. Expecting a high of 98 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, once again, firefighters continue to battle 4 wildfires burning along the Front Range, and it almost increased to 6 on Wednesday. A brush fire burned 3 acres of land near the Fort Restaurant in Morrison, but fire crews quickly put it out before it spread. Later, a grass fire ignited the Arapahoe County Fairgrounds after some kids were seen playing with fireworks in the area. Human remains were found in a burned home in Boulder County, and investigators are working to determine the person's identity. The Stone Canyon fire has burned 5 homes and more than 1,500 acres of land and is about 20% contained. The Deer Creek Canyon fire forced 575 homes to evacuate on Wednesday. The Alexander Mountain fire west of Loveland burned through 7,600 acres. More hot spot crews and resources are arriving today to focus on protecting Highway 34, that corridor. FEMA also authorized the use of federal funds to help with the costs of battling all these blazes. Former President Trump was at the National Association of Black Journalists, NABJ, the convention last night. ABC's Rachel Scott was hostile from the start. And you know what? Disrespectful to the former president. Trump agreed to come, and they were 35 minutes late. And it was obviously, an opportunity for them to pounce. Here's Scott's first question. Statements before a question.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question.
They had their lefty fact checker all ready to go. That machine was all ready.
Blake,
right,
I want to take a moment to talk about this because I was going to talk about this. I'm so glad you picked up on this. All right, so this is what I have told other Republicans. This is how Kyle Clark and people like him engage in interviews. Okay, they understand that there is a moment right before we get into a conversation where they can control the narrative and go at it. So think back to Kyle Clark's Mike Lynch question during the Congressional District 4 debate, where he goes, we're not going to talk about your DUI. We're not going to talk about you hiding that. We're not going to talk about, but I do want to talk about, and so he uses that moment to drive the agenda and the issue, and you need to challenge the premise of it. But Blake, it is incredibly rude to do that. I'm sorry. It just is. They are a guest of yours, and you have invited them. You are sitting down with them, and to go at it, not late in the conversation, but very beginning. We're going to go out the chute like that and attack somebody. And that was an attack on Donald Trump's character. That's
no doubt.
Purely. And Blake, I want to play this. Okay. So I introduced, and to this point, there's only been one Democrat that's ever attended the Western Conservative Summit, and that was Jared Polis. And we had invited,
that's it, huh?
Yep, we had invited Democrats all 14 years we did the summit. But only one time did Jared Polis come. Okay, so it was my job to walk out into a crowd of 2,000 people and introduce Jared Polis. Now, I'm the chairman of the Western Conservative Summit, and I thought long and hard about how to introduce him. I could walk out there and go, this is one of the worst governors Colorado has ever had. His policies have led to greater crime, greater suffering. He rejects biblical values. I could have gone and just ripped him and then said, ladies and gentlemen, Jared Polis, okay? But instead, this is how I introduced Jared Polis at the Western Conservative Summit.
Friends, this is a historic moment for the Western Conservative Summit. For 10 years, since the very beginning of the Western Conservative Summit, Bill Armstrong and John Andrews have invited our Democrat and liberal friends to come and interact with who we consider the very best people in the entire country, the Western Conservative, right? Well, for 9 years, they've said no and have not come to join us, except for this year. For the first time in history, we are proud to welcome the governor of the state of Colorado, Jared Polis. Governor Polis is an entrepreneur, an education leader, and public servant. He started his first business, American Information Systems, while in college out of his dorm room. By the time he was 30, he'd launched 3 successful companies, including ProFlowers, one of the world's leading online flower retailers. He most recently served as the U.S. representative from Colorado's 2nd Congressional District and was elected governor of Colorado in 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm Western Conservative Summit welcome to our friend, Governor Jared Polis.
So he was my guest. I invited him. He was the guest of the National Association of Black Journalists. He didn't have to go there. He chose to be there. And the first question out of the gate is, you've had dinner with racists. You have called people this. It was a grilling. It was rude.
No,
it was unfair. And frankly, the left needs to stop treating Donald Trump like this. If he is willing to cross the threshold, go into a progressive event, he is your guest. Act with a little dignity, for Pete's sake.
I mean, no matter what, whether it's news, sports, we all know this. You kind of start with a softball in situations like that. Or, hey, how about this? Hey, sir, thank you very much for coming here. We know you didn't have to come here. We appreciate you coming here. And by the way, you were shot 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
There's a chance you may not, you could not even, would not even be here for this. So we appreciate you being here. If Democrats come on this radio station, you guys do a great job of that. You thank them for being here. You don't have to agree with them, but you appreciate the clarity and the fact that they spent their time. It was a joke. She's making, Snuffleupagus and all the people at ABC happy because they're hard pounding questions. Give me a break. So totally disrespectful. And you did the right thing with Polis right there. And I'm just mad at myself that I bought so many ProFlowers over the years. I had no idea. I forgot about that.
But you did. To his credit,
right way.
To his credit, he started out pretty fun. his walkout song was "This Is How Legends Are Made," and so he goes, "Well, I didn't choose that song. We chose it for him. We wanted to give him a good welcome and show him that Bible-believing conservative Christians,
that's right,
are people of respect." And
no doubt.
And then he has this great opening line. He goes, "I may be in the wrong spot. I think this was the Western Conservation Summit, right?"
That's awesome.
And we had some fun.
Absolutely.
And still to this day, I think he's a terrible governor. And I did not vote for him. And I'd much rather have Heidi Ganahl in there. But you don't treat people like that. And the left does this to Donald Trump all the time because they all sit there and pat themselves on the back and go, "Wait, you really got him there." Like we're getting text messages right now. You know, they really got him. Well, and that's how Kyle Clark treated.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so here's what they did, Jeff. The lefty fact checker, the machine was there, and then they asked Trump about VP Harris very early, right after that.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
So I know everyone's going to say, "Why did Trump say that? Why did you say this?" You know, they're going to use it against him, and they will. They'll try it. But here's a pastor from California.
I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother, for when she was the AG in California, a Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. He was dead in the water. Matter of fact, you don't need a trial. You might well go into jail if you appear before her, because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling you, check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, you did, Kamala, however I should pronounce it. You did. And now we're supposed to forget all that stuff.
Yeah, he's exactly right. Rachel Scott may need to talk to him. I think that is very powerful. A new report says Iran's Ayatollah is ordering an attack on Israel in retaliation for the killing of a Hamas leader. Iranian sources tell the New York Times that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, like Levin says, has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel in retaliation for Wednesday's killing of a senior Hamas commander. Olympic golf tees off today, and the Broncos offensive tackle, one of their offensive tackles, Quinn Bailey, fractures his right ankle during practice, and the Rockies beat the Angels 2-1. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 67 in Arvada, 69 in Greenwood Village, 62 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Thursday. Good morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for the heat to continue. Smoky, hazy, and hot. Temperatures in the middle to upper 90s. Slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm late, lows mid-60s. Highs will be hot in the mid to upper 90s Friday. Friday afternoon and evening, a few thunderstorms. Hot with 90s this weekend. Saturday dry. Thunderstorms, a few of them on Sunday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 720-651-9800. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Speaking of the fact that that's how Kyle Clark interviews people, here's what he tweeted yesterday. Here's Rachel Scott showing journalists how it's done. Direct, fair, unafraid questions based on the candidate's own words and actions. Journalists, we can make this the standard, not the exception. I would love that to be the standard if it was the standard. And part of what I liked about yesterday, Billy, was the fact that when political leaders and the press really go at each other, the country benefits.
Yes, they do.
And we have not had that for 4 years. We have had ice cream. What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Or I'm going to be a candidate that just hides away and doesn't do any media press whatsoever. The media treated Joe Biden with kid gloves. He barely, when he did do media, they treated him with kid gloves, but he didn't do that much media. America is better when you have political leaders and the press going at it over truth and issues. And that only happens between Republicans and the media.
I'm not so certain about that one because I'm pretty sure there's a huge cable TV network that is leading in the evenings that recently paid $700 million to Dominion for lying about them that does do that on the other side in certain capacities. They have gone after Biden from the get-go. I mean, anytime that James Comer or Jim Jordan want to get on the air and talk about the investigations in the Biden crime family, full time.
When was the last time Joe Biden sat down with Fox?
No, I don't think he ever has. I don't think, and I think Biden, and I think Obama didn't either. And Trump doesn't necessarily sit down with what he would consider the mainstream media. He doesn't really sit down with ABC, NBC, CBS per se as well. I mean,
I think he does that a lot more. He's done 60 Minutes. He did the National Association of Black Journalists just yesterday.
Oh, I know, just yesterday. I was just getting to that. But again, he did 60 Minutes once, and then we've got a couple others. But the majority of his interviews, if you go through it on the timeline, are with conservative media outlets. He appears on, our friend Hugh Hewitt's show. He appears there more often. He appears on Fox News more often than he does in any other liberal outlet because it's friendly. And that is a problem. You're right. You're absolutely right that it is a problem with politics. Too many of our politicians are afraid. And we are a wonderful example of this. How hard is it to get a Democrat to come on our show? It is like trying to raise the dead. It's ridiculous. Yeah. They don't want to because they view KNUS and feel they aren't going to get a fair shake. And they also don't want to be asked difficult questions, which is why I'm a surprise for a number of conservatives that join the show that have no idea what's coming. They have no clue who I am, which I apologize to them sometimes not. I think I understand the critique that you had about the introduction, but I'm not certain it's fair. Explain to me what would you have rather seen at the beginning? How should the reporter have started off with Trump?
Welcome.
Okay, and if
hi, glad you're here.
Okay, if she would have said,
thanks so much for being.
If she would have said, welcome, glad you're here, and then continued with the exact same narrative, would you have deemed it a fair question?
Yes.
Really?
And even if it was a little bit later, I mean, it was. So it's this.
I'm not talking about later. Talking up top.
Yeah,
I'm talking right up front. If do the words "welcome," "glad you're here," excuse all the other consternation.
I'm thinking about that because let's actually dissect the question, right?
Yeah.
I want to listen to it again here real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's the opening part.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Okay, so that question is 47 seconds long.
Yeah.
And the first 43 seconds of it are accusations.
No, those are facts.
Well, she thinks they're facts.
No, they are. He has.
It is
questioned.
inappropriate. People think it's inappropriate for you to be here. You have made false claims.
Yeah. Do people think it's inappropriate?
All that
Hang on a
stuff.
sec. Do you think people said it was inappropriate for Donald Trump to be there? There were people that were
Right.
angry about it. So that's accurate. He has
What
made
does that have
false.
to do with the question for him?
Hang on a sec, though. What she's doing is she's setting the table and saying, here are all of these things. Why are you now expecting black people to vote for you?
Yeah.
And the stuff that she said about the accusations he made about journalists, accusations he made about his rivals are all true. She even left out Ted Cruz and accusing his father of helping to assassinate JFK and being part of the Castro regime. So she left out a number of things as well. It is fair to say all of these things happened. Why now do you have the vote? And I am surprised that everybody's like, oh, they got you. Because here's the reason why.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it's an open-ended question. He's allowed the space to say they should vote for me because of this and this and this. He can address all of those concerns that she has, and she gives him the space to do that. This is an open-ended question. It's not a matter of when did you stop beating your wife?
Really? That's exactly what it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Because did she get into anything that's positive he has done for the black community? In that 45 seconds before she got, was there one positive remark? That was not a balanced question.
So hang on a
that
second.
was accusation,
Not accusation, fact.
negative,
Fact.
negative.
Fact.
No, those were
Fact.
DNC talking points.
Those were facts. Tell me what she said in that opening 40 that was untrue. What was factually not accurate?
The entire thing was poisoned well, Billy.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yes,
come
it
on,
was.
stop it. No, it's
yes,
not.
it
Stop
was.
Tell me.
She poisoned the entire well on that.
No,
she went
didn't.
after every possible negative thing that a Democrat would say about an opponent against Donald Trump, and then said, "What's your response?"
Isn't that what a journalist should do?
No, it is.
Yes, it
not
is.
To parrot political talking
hang on a
points,
sec.
Billy.
Hang on. It is your assumption that they're parroting political talking points.
That's exactly what
she's
she's doing.
I am still waiting for you to outline what is factually inaccurate.
The entire thing was skewed.
Hang on a second.
You knew that.
No, it was factually accurate. Now,
No, it's not.
Yes,
this
it
is not
is.
factually accurate.
Let's return to my question. What in the first 40 was factually inaccurate?
Where is anything in that portion positive about what he did for the black community?
That is nice, but
Billy,
hang on a sec. Wait,
Billy,
Jeff,
if I looked at your life and all I said was, Billy, you did this thing wrong. 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 Are you a good person? And you'd go, well, yeah, I guess I did that thing wrong, but I also did a whole lot of good things. And the only thing you have done is focus on what I've done bad. That is not a factually accurate description of Donald Trump's relationship with the black community.
So for you, in order for the questions to be fair, they either need to be friendly or they need to consider both sides. So they have to say, well, they have to consider, the question has to contain both sides. It can't appear to be a one-sided question. They somehow have to make sure that it looks like an even question. How do you possibly do that? And what I'm talking about is, let's go back to when those Sunday morning talk shows were decent. Back when we had someone called Tim Russert.
Yes.
You didn't know Tim's politics. And what did Tim do? If it was a Republican sitting there, he would ask the questions a Democrat would ask. If a Democrat was sitting there, he would ask the questions a Republican would ask. That's what the journalist is doing at this point.
No way.
Yes,
no
it is.
way. She is parroting DNC talking points by misrepresenting Donald Trump's relationship with the black community in an effort to trap him and to make him look bad so that Kamala Harris has whatever commercials she wants to do.
No.
She is doing the bidding of the Harris campaign right then and there.
No, she isn't. And especially when
100%.
you say it's a DNC talking point, your argument falls when, again, we talk about the idea of where's the inaccuracy. Even if they are word for word DNC talking points, if they are true, it doesn't matter. And I'm still going back to that. You have yet to address the factual inaccuracies in that first 40 seconds. Exactly. There aren't any.
No.
That's the problem.
The point is you skewed it so bad.
No,
it's exactly what Kyle Clark did with Mike Lynch, right? We're going to dive into your DUI. We're going to talk about how you hid that from everybody. And then we're not going to cover anything at all policy oriented. I'm just going to attack your character in an unfair way.
It's totally fair.
That is not fair.
Yes, it is. That is a question that many people that critique. Hang on a second.
Where's the one point where she gets to anything positive he did for the black community?
Hang on a second. It is, you do not judge a question on fairness on the number of negative and positive things it has inside the question.
I can judge it if it's skewed.
That is not a judgment of fairness. She's accurate on this, and he has the time to say, oh, I was wrong about this. This is why I said that. And the black people should vote for me because of A and B and C and D of my accomplishments.
Which is what he gets to
do. Yes.
But so again, he has to do it.
Yes.
And not once during the 45 minutes of the conversation did they cover that, the journalists.
Okay, so you're mad because there aren't softball questions. That's what we need.
No.
We need something that Donald Trump should have been asked.
Softball questions.
Tell me, sir, why you are the best president ever.
Question in there.
Yet that is an honest question.
Tell
me, sir, why you are the bestest president ever. That's what you would have been happier with.
No.
Tell me, sir, why all the black people should vote for you and the ones that aren't are stupid. That's what you're looking for. Come on.
No way, Billy.
How much of a snowflake is he?
That entire thing was skewed to attack him. They don't treat Joe Biden anyway like they do Donald Trump. It was vicious from the get-go in an effort to go after not the truth, Billy, a political opponent. That was a Democrat right there going after and seeking to take down the Republican nominee. That was the only point of that question.
I completely disagree. That question was completely and totally fair. The fact that Trump meandered around it and everybody's mad about it shows exactly how much of a snowflake the GOPs are turning into. You guys are so mad that Donald Trump at first yesterday was being applauded for going in and talking to the National Association of Black Journalists. Look at this. Look what he's doing. And then when it happens, you're like, get a grip. What did you expect to have happen?
Billy,
what did you expect? Did you expect them to go in there and say, how are you the most wonderfulest person ever, sir? Thank you so much. Tell us how you made the sun shine today. What were you expecting?
Why are you leaping to that fact when I pointed out that in 45 minutes, they didn't say one positive thing about what Donald Trump did for the black community? This isn't the Democrat Party. This are journalists. Journalists couldn't point out one positive thing that Donald Trump did for the black community in 45 minutes.
Is the role,
and the only thing they're going to do is attack him.
In that conversation, what is the role of the journalist? Is it the role of the journalist to highlight the person's positives?
To point out the truth, Billy.
Yeah.
To point out the truth.
Yes, and she did during the first 40 seconds.
No, she didn't. She skewed that entire question.
What was inaccurate? What was unfactual?
What
was the lie?
The entire description.
The first 40 seconds was factual.
No, it was not.
What was not
the
correct?
The entire description.
No. What was incorrect? He did say those things
about the people. The entire description was incorrect.
He did question the birth of Kamala, of Nikki Haley and Barack Obama. That's accurate. The statements he said about journalists are accurate. Every single statement in there is accurate. You're just mad about that, that they didn't have some sort of happiness in there.
Because it was skewed, and they would never treat Joe Biden like this. Joe Biden would have been, oh, look how great you are. Look how great look at all the great things you've done for the black community. That would be Joe Biden or Kamala Harris if she goes in front of this group.
How is Joe Biden going to be treated on Fox? How's Joe Biden going to be treated on Fox?
He won't go on Fox.
No, that's not the question I asked, sir. Deal with the question. How would he be treated on Fox?
A lot more fairly.
No.
Yes. 100%.
That's not unfair.
Conservatives treat liberals a lot more fair than liberals can treat conservatives.
You've come to the conclusion that is unfair. That is not an unfair question. He should be able to answer that. That is not an unfair question. She asked him a very direct question, and he had a chance to answer.
Question, and it was open-ended. And that is why people, right there, is exactly why people don't trust the media. Because it's a load of crap.
No, that's why people don't trust Donald Trump.
That was a load of crap.
No, it was fine.
No,
it was absolutely acceptable. There wasn't a single false statement inside of her opening question, and he had the ability to address it. I have asked similar difficult questions to people that have been on this show. Some have done very well with them. Some have done just as poorly as Trump.
You have been respectful.
I don't think that was disrespectful.
You have been very respectful.
Yeah, I try to be, but I don't think that wasn't. I don't think that wasn't disrespectful.
Those journalists were not respectful.
I don't think it wasn't. All
right, give us a call. What do you think? 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text messages are on both sides of this. One, Andrew, Billy is 100% right. You just want questions for Trump that make him look great. Doug, you have to admit she framed her questions to portray Trump in a certain way. Quote, you referred to black DAs as animals. Technically true, but also false. Trump didn't call all black DAs as animals, but a specific one who happened to be black, therefore framing Trump as a racist. Jeff is ridiculous. He's a total Trumper.
And Doug, Trump could have said, I only called one black DA an animal. He didn't address any of those things. He had the opportunity, but he did do it. Doug, it's factual. There's nothing in that first 40 seconds that is not true. That's the problem. And that's why all y'all are butthurt over it. Because you're like, someone actually asked a politician a tough question. I would love to have them ask hard questions of Kamala and also of Biden as well. But that's not the situation we're in. It doesn't matter.
I guarantee you.
That's not the situation we're in.
That's part of the problem.
No, it doesn't matter. If they get on those, if they take the interview on those outlets, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Which they won't, which he won't. Bill will argue about anything with the right. All right. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, Billy and I are already at it this morning. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. Was the media fair to Donald Trump yesterday during the interviews taking place at the National Association of Black Journalists? I don't think so. And this is the same media that knew for years that Joe Biden was in decline. They didn't report on it. They considered anybody who did report on it conspiracy theorists. And now they get Donald Trump in their crosshairs, figuratively, I don't have to say that, and just lay into him with skewed questions in an effort to portray him a certain way. They are operating on behalf of the Democrat Party. Prove me wrong. Tony Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710. KNUS, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So your framing of this whole conversation, you opened with the idea of inviting Polis to out and how you introduced him, which was, very gracious and so forth. But that's two political parties. You have difference of opinion, but he came to speak at your event and you were gracious to him. In the case of Trump going in front of the black press, this was all about his I'm not going to say he's a racist. They're asking about all the racist things he said and done, and ask him to explain that. This is who they are. It's kind of like if you had Jeffrey Dahmer on the stage, you wouldn't say, okay, you ate these 6 people, but to your credit, there are a lot of people you didn't eat. But we want to talk about the 6 that you did. And that's basically what that first question was about. You have said all these things.
And at any point during that 45-minute conversation, did the journalists talk about the positive things Donald Trump did for the black community?
I have to confess, I did not watch the 45-minute deal. However, Trump then reinforced their opening question twice more in the event when he attacks Kamala Harris's identity as a black person, 1. 2, when he calls her a DEI hire. So, he reinforced everything about the first question. Tony, he stepped right back into it.
Tony, is a DEI hire bad?
When the inference from when the way he is asking that question is the only reason she got where she got was because she's a DEI hire, not because she was a skilled professional.
Didn't Joe Biden say that?
Did Joe Biden say that she was a DEI hire?
Yeah.
No, I don't recall him ever saying.
That's exactly what he said. He said he was going to bring in diversity, equity, and inclusion into his administration.
Absolutely.
Starting with the vice president.
That's a different point. He was acknowledged. He never said, "I'm going to hire them regardless of their skill set." The framing coming from Trump is, and the right and the radio and you and everybody else on this side, is they only got hired because it was a DEI hire.
Tony,
not because they're trying to broaden the views of the organization by including people who are not traditionally included. So they work hard to go out and find those skilled people to fill those roles, so they have a more diverse organization. Just like every damn organization in this major corporation in this state.
Do you think Kamala Harris was hired because of her intellect and skill set? Or do you think that Joe Biden hired her to appeal to black women?
All right. I certainly think that he wanted to have an administration that reflected the population, kind of like the Congress and the Senate, full of minorities, which is something that's not true on the right. One black person,
Tony,
you got your one black
that
friend.
She was a DEI hire.
I'm saying that's not. No, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, they want diversity. Yes, they want diversity, but that does not in any way minimize the fact that she was qualified. Keep in mind, she was the attorney general for a state the size of the 7th largest country in the world. That's not a small job. And by the way, she narrowly got through on her first election and then won in a landslide and was
and then
endorsed by the
ran
police
against Joe Biden and didn't even make it to the primaries. Tony, I appreciate
nobody
the
did.
call. We're out of the question. We're out of time here. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking this interview that took place with Donald Trump and the National Association of Black Journalists. To me, I like it when media and those in political power go back and forth. You don't see it with Joe Biden. The media deliberately hid Joe Biden's decline for years. Then they get Donald Trump, and their questions are not fair. They're absolutely skewed to portray him in a way that benefits the Democrat Party because the Democrats and the media are in cahoots. And the media is a bunch of progressive hacks. Prove me wrong. Let's go to Spencer, Castle Rock. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me all right?
We got you loud and clear.
Oh, I love how the saying actions speak louder than words flies out the window for the left when talking about Donald Trump. During his presidency, he provided funding, massive amounts of funding to historically Black colleges. Yep. They never talk about that.
Nope.
He implemented policies that brought employment rates up for minorities to historic levels. They never talk about that. And the thing that's amazing to me, sometimes I wish I could be an advisor to Donald Trump for 2 minutes, right? I think most of us do. There's a lot of things we'd all tell him. My response that I would have advised him would have been, okay, Kamala Harris, during the primaries in 2020, running against Joe Biden, rightfully eviscerated Joe Biden on his racial record. And it is abhorrent. And that disappeared when she became the vice presidential nominee for Joe Biden.
Yep.
Will someone please explain that to me? Why nobody ever holds the left accountable for this crap? Would someone please walk up to Hillary Clinton and ask to borrow her hot sauce that she carries around in her purse? They never talk about this stuff, and it blows my mind.
I don't know about the hot sauce, but with regards,
you don't remember?
No.
You don't remember when she went on the radio show that was predominantly Black and pulled a bottle of hot sauce out of her purse?
I don't know. No.
Pandering.
And that might be your point, is the pandering is that they do that. Well, we're just out of time, Spencer. Thanks for the call. I agree with Spencer. They do not hold the left accountable to their racism. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. In the previous hour, and we'll continue into this hour, what do you think of that interview of Donald Trump at the National Association of Black Journalists? Lots of calls and text messages on this. Kyle Clark commended the interviewees, saying that Rachel Scott is showing journalists how it's done. Direct, fair, unafraid questions based on the candidate's own words and actions. Journalists can make this the standard, not the exception. I'm not surprised that Kyle Clark likes the way she started the interview. He does actually very similar ways. The first 40 seconds of the 45-second question she asked was a partisan, skewed attack that could have come directly from Donald Trump's political opponents in an effort to portray him in a very negative way by not at all covering any of the positive things he has done for the Black community. And that's the way Kyle Clark asks his questions as well. Some call them gotcha questions. They're basically, it's a strategy by the interviewee or interviewer to try to put the interviewee on their heels. Here's what all the negatives, here are all the negative things that people say about you. What's your response? Type of thing. So I would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. But let's first check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. It's 64 and sunny behind some of the smoke in areas up and down the Front Range in Denver and northbound. Expecting a high of 99 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, firefighters continue to battle 4 wildfires burning along the Front Range. Fortunately, a brush fire burned 3 acres of land near the Fort Restaurant in Morrison, but crews were quickly able to put it out before it spread. Human remains were found in a burned home in Boulder County, and investigators are working to determine the person's identity. The Stone Canyon fire has burned 5 homes and more than 1,500 acres and about 20% contained. The Deer Creek Canyon fire forced 575 homes to evacuate on Wednesday. The Alexander Mountain fire west of Loveland burned through 7,600 acres. More crews and resources are arriving today to focus on protecting the highway and the roads in that area, especially Highway 34, that corridor. Former President Trump was kind enough to show up at NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists convention last night. ABC's Rachel Scott was dead set on attacking Trump from the start. It was hostile and disrespectful. He agreed to come, and they were 35 minutes late. Here's Scott's first question. Statements before a question.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question.
And Trump continued.
Don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
They got into a race, DEI, blah, 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 blah. And Trump said this.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Hey, a lot of people thought that. Here's Harris 4 years ago on with an Indian cook named Mindy Kaling.
Yes.
You are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like our thing we're so excited about to have you running for president.
Yeah.
So we're both Indian,
Yes.
but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people
You
we're
do.
related already,
Yeah.
so this is perfect.
Yum, that curry looked really good. Trump says he'll go back to Butler where the attempted assassination occurred. Trump spoke in Harrisburg, PA last night and says he won't be deterred. A new report says Iran's Ayatollah is ordering an attack on Israel in retaliation for the killing of a Hamas leader, a Hamas leader. Iranian sources tell the New York Times that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel in retaliation for Wednesday's killing of a senior Hamas commander. North Korea is open to resuming nuclear talks with the U.S. if Trump retakes the White House. That's according to Reuters, citing a North Korean diplomat who defected to South Korea last month. Trump engaged in unprecedented diplomacy with North Korea during his term. This past weekend at Comic-Con in San Diego, 14 people were arrested for sex trafficking. San Diego County Sheriff Kelly Martinez says 10 victims, including a 16-year-old girl, were rescued.
Unfortunately, large events such as Comic-Con and other large conferences are attractive to sex traffickers who capitalize on those large-scale events to exploit victims for profit.
The human trafficking sting was carried out from Thursday to Saturday during the convention in San Diego that drew 135,000 visitors. Law enforcement worked undercover, posing as customers, arresting people, trafficking victims during the convention. Olympic golf tees off today. Broncos offensive tackle Quinn Bailey also fractures his right ankle during practice, and the Rockies beat the Angels 2-1. 61 in Lakewood, 63 in Glendale, 64 in Denver. We were talking about teens growing up earlier in the show. Peter Brady.
When it's time to change, when it's time to change. Don't fight the tide, come along
Here's the
for the
best one.
ride. Don't you see? Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na. When it's time to
Oh, man. All right, Jeff and Bill.
Forgot about that. That is fantastic.
Right?
Thank you,
Yeah,
my friend.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Hey,
I
and
remember
by the way, Hillary did break out the hot sauce earlier.
Did she?
Yeah, it was so ridiculous. I mean, it was almost as bad as when she said, I don't feel no ways tired. I mean, they didn't say anything about that.
No, they don't. They don't at all.
It's horrible.
And trusted media is at record lows, and people are like, "Oh, I don't understand why." Well, look at the first minute and a half of yesterday's National Black Journalist Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only August. Is it August? Yeah, today's August, isn't it?
August 1st.
August 1st. Wow. All right. Blake Olson News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for the heat to continue. Smoky, hazy, and hot. Temperatures in the middle to upper 90s. Slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm late, lows mid-60s. Highs will be hot in the mid to upper 90s Friday. Friday afternoon and evening, a few thunderstorms. Hot with 90s this weekend. Saturday dry. Thunderstorms, a few of them on Sunday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 720-651-9800. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, phone lines are lighting up on that issue. What happened yesterday with the National Association of Black Journalists conference where Donald Trump spoke. And part of the reason I liked what happened yesterday, Billy, was I mean, for as critical as I am of Rachel Scott's treatment of Donald Trump, I like that better than their treatment of Joe Biden, which is kind of just like, what's your favorite ice cream color? Oh, you can't string a sentence together? Don't worry. We won't tell the American people. And if the American people start to find out about it, we'll just call them conspiracy theorists. And by the way, J.D. Vance is weird. I hate a media that's in bed with a particular political party. And
so not a Fox News fan.
And is doing their bidding.
No, not a Fox News fan then, huh?
I wonder,
not a Newsmax.
Do you think that they ask more fair, tougher questions to Republicans than MSNBC, CNN do of Democrats?
Nope, both do softballs. Both don't push back. The only one that, in the curvy couch people in the morning, the only one that pushes back every once in a while is Ducey. And that's a rare time. Most of the time it is, if you go back, most of the time it's a, hey, how are you? If you go back prior to this election cycle, when we were still trying to push Ron DeSantis up to the top of the ticket and he still had all that. If you go back and you watch Fox News at that time, he basically had an open invitation. Anytime that he wanted to, he could come on that show and they would ask him what he wants to talk about. And he would just be given 5, 8, 9, 10 minutes in order to do what he wants. And that's not just my opinion. That's been backed up by emails from people internally in the company. That's exactly what they were doing.
But do you like when we ask people questions like, let's go to the state party issue. I think we provide better.
I made a lot of friends there. Yeah,
I think we've provided better coverage of the state party issue than anybody else has.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we've talked to both sides.
Yep.
And we've asked them fair questions. Are you contributing to greater division?
And I think when we had the people running for like the Elbert County commissioners were coming in, you asked very fair questions. You had a point of view, but you did ask very fair questions. Your questions were absolutely warranted in that situation.
So, but when I watch Rachel Scott's interview, I'm like, she's just rude.
See, I disagree. I think that what she did is the first 40 seconds are factually accurate. And she gives Donald Trump an open-ended question. It's not why are you such a bad person that hates black people? It's
I think that's exactly what she said.
That's your impression.
Yeah.
But listen to the question that she actually asked at the end. It's why should black people vote for you? She gives him an opportunity to correct that and say, here, yes, I understand these are, individual instances. This is wrong. But look at this long list of things that I have to accomplish. I mean, it is not a secret inside of politics that politicians are taught and coached to answer the question you want to answer, not answer the question that is asked. And Trump is awful at this in some cases. But he does go off and do his own thing. He stays on message. He did a really good job later in the interview with going back to the immigration type
illegal
thing.
immigration,
which was smart.
And abortion
that's the
too.
idea of, answer the question you want to answer, not the question that was asked. He had this opportunity here, and he more or less kind of flubbed it up a little bit. I mean, he did an okay deal with it, but that's the issue. But everything that Rachel had at the beginning is accurate. And it's an open-ended question at the other end. She didn't come to a conclusion inside the question.
Yeah, I don't think it's accurate. I think it's skewed. No. I think you could go bit by bit and go, well, technically. But if all you point out is someone's negatives that particularly their political opponent are going to raise without covering anything that balances it out, like she could have easily said in the midst of all that, about false claims and animal and all that stuff, and then said, but you've also you point out that you've done great things for the black community with employment or college funding and all that stuff.
Yeah.
but
Also,
never
and
once did that.
and
So
let's go
if
back to
all
the
you're going to point
HBC
out
thing,
are
that
negatives,
HBC thing though wasn't a Trump initiative. Yes, he signed the bill, but the bill was bipartisan. That was never something that Trump said, I'm going to do this. So yes, he signed the bill, but saying that he's the one.
But why wouldn't you give him credit just because he?
Well, no,
because
the issue. No, you can say that he signed it. You can say he signed it, but it wasn't necessarily as a priority. Him coming to and saying, "And I did this for you." You signed a piece of paper that other people worked on, and then you pushed it through. Yeah, that's fine. He gets that credit. But the idea that he went down to Capitol Hill and pushed for funding for historical Black colleges, no, that's just not true. It is true he signed the bill, so he should get credit for that.
Yeah.
He should get credit for that. But again,
he should get credit for it.
Yes, he did. Yes, and he does. He does get credit for that. But he also doesn't get credit for donating $6,000 to Kamala's re-election campaign when she was running for AG of California, as Andrew on our YouTube channel points out. Appreciate you, Andrew. But yeah.
By the way, you can comment there. But yeah, they didn't bring that up yesterday, did they?
No.
Let's go to Bill, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys today?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I just want to take issue with Bill a little bit. Bill, do you know the difference between an interrogation and an interview?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to school and was trained as a journalist. So yes, I am familiar with that idea.
Okay. Let me tell you my definition, and I've done it for a lot of years. You interview victims and witnesses. You interrogate suspects. I watched that debacle yesterday, and Rachel Scott came out interrogating Trump like he was a suspect. And you don't do that. First of all, even the worst suspect that you're interviewing, even if it's a murder suspect, you try to build up a rapport, make him feel at ease. You don't walk in, if he's a murder suspect, you don't walk in and immediately accuse him of murder.
Yeah, now, Bill, your phone's breaking up there a bit, but I'm going to stop you there for a second because here you're coming to a conclusion. You're working backwards. You've decided, no, Bill, hang on. You've decided that this is an interrogation going on at the National Association of Black Journalists, and then you're working backwards, saying they should have built trust, everything else, and you're reinforcing the narrative. They're treating him as a suspect. The question that you're mad about, and I'm surprised everybody's mad that somehow Trump has hurt fifis over the opening question, that somehow because they didn't say, welcome, thank you for being here, sir, somehow that would have given the appearance of a fair question. I disagree. The first part of that question is factually accurate, and she gave him an opportunity at the end of it to correct the record or say why Black people should support him. She gave him the opportunity.
No, wait a minute. Bill, you don't come out and start accusing somebody of 15 different accusations.
Hang on a sec, Bill.
Bill.
Now,
wait a minute.
No.
None of those accusations were in context.
We are going to Bill. We have to be accurate here, Bill.
He's supposed to respond to each and every one.
Bill, excuse me, Bill. Hang on. Bill's on pause. Bill, tell me in that first 40 seconds what was inaccurate, what was wrong in the first 40 seconds, what was not factually correct.
I don't know.
Okay, well then you can't sit there and say that you can't sit there and say that they're assumptions. Bill, you said they were assumptions, and you just admitted you have no idea whether or not they were accurate. You made an assumption that is not backed up on knowledge that you have.
Do you know they were accurate?
Yes, they are accurate, every single one of them.
How do you know?
Because I did the research.
Did you go back and research?
Yes, Bill, I did.
Tell me the context.
Yes.
Tell me the context.
Of which part?
Accusations.
Of which part? The part about Donald Trump asking whether or not Barack Obama was born in this country. We have numerous interviews of that. He also questioned whether or not Nikki Haley was.
There was a lot of questions about that.
But hang on, wait, Bill.
I don't want to sidetrack.
I know, Bill, but you asked the question whether or not I verified them, and I just showed you I verified them. You have yet to show me what is inaccurate in that first 40 seconds. I'll give you another opportunity.
I didn't say it was inaccurate.
You said they were assumptions, sir. Sir, you said they were assumptions. Assumptions are not based on based on beliefs, not knowledge all the time. Those are assumptions. You have to come to a conclusion based on knowledge you do not have based on those assumptions. You said they were assumptions and accusations. They are facts. And things can be facts as accusations as well.
Hey, I'm a graduate of Mullen too, by the way. When you
Great. You should have done really well in Safara's class.
Well, I did.
Great.
I took Safara's for a couple classes. But anyway.
Yeah, I was in the class on the speech and debate team. Yes.
What I'm saying is if you accuse somebody of something, it has to be applied to context. She came out there and rattled out 15 accusations, and he was supposed to try to address each one. And and then she says, "Do you think the Black voters should vote for you over those accusations?" That's ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's fair.
Yeah, no, and Bill, to your point, it is. Let's go right? 15 things about Donald Trump, 15 negative things about Donald Trump. And then the question is, why are voters supposed to vote for you?
Oh, so it's just hurt feelings. You guys are just mad about hurt feelings. Yes.
No,
you're mad about hurt feelings.
BS.
They weren't nice to him.
BS
they should
questions.
be nice. They need to be nice to our God King. And don't be mean to poor Trump. He's so mad. So mean. They're so mean to him.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
You know, you've learned that you don't go in and throw a fastball at somebody's head on the first question. That puts him in a defensive mode. You don't get anything out of it. You know, turns into a shouting match and everything else. She didn't have to ask that question right off the bat. She could have, built up to that question maybe later on in the interview.
But does that mean the question is unfair?
Yes,
you're
still
thinking
is.
at first,
I think it's still unfair.
Yeah. So here, so Jeff, hang on. So Bill, Jeff says that question is unfair regardless of when it's asked. Do you believe that?
I think the way she phrased it, it was unfair.
How was it unfair based on how it was phrased?
She threw 15 accusations at him in 30 seconds.
Not accusations, facts. Not accusations, sir, facts.
Okay, she could have taken the black DA thing and said, okay, back in whatever it was, you came out with a statement when you were addressing a group that you referred to black DAs as animals. Can you expound on that? And then give him a chance to answer. But how's he supposed to answer that question when under that kind of
Bill, I want to use an example. Let's go back to Kyle Clark in Congressional District 4 debate, okay? Because it's very similar. All right, Mike Lynch, you got a DUI. Mike Lynch, you were speeding. Mike Lynch, you had a gun on you. Mike Lynch, you hid that from people, but that's not what I want to talk about. Mike Lynch, I want to talk about. I forget what the follow-up question was. Maybe it was. I think the actual question was, how can people trust you in light of all that? So what you've done is you've done a litany of attacks: attack 1, attack 2, attack 3, attack 4, attack 5, and in this case, probably 15, right? Attack. Why are people supposed to vote for you? So now the person is supposed to go, okay, where do we even start? Do you want me to go back to attack 1, attack 2, attack 3? And when all of your attacks read like talking points from a political opponent, and then you put the person, Bill, you and I would not treat somebody like that if they came in the studio.
I'm not certain about that. I'm not certain about that, Jeff, and I'm not certain about that, Bill. And here's the reason why: is that the discussion where we started this particular vein was the idea of the opening question and whether or not. I mean, Bill says that it could have been asked later in the interview. Jeff thinks it's unfair in any way, shape, or form. The reason that I think it is a good question by Rachel, and especially up front, is because the first thing she does is she asks the question that everybody's wondering: why in the hell are you here? Why did you agree to be here? Because a lot of people had that question knowing that it probably was going to be an adversarial conversation. His handlers should have known this. And the fact that he is unprepared for some of these statements, these things have been out in public for a long time. And there are other things she could have thrown in there, but she didn't. She didn't touch a thing about the Central Park 5. She didn't say a thing about that.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is almost like a setup. The only reason, as soon as he walked in there, they had made up their minds they were going to discredit him and demean him and everything else.
Including Harris Faulkner?
Not give him a fair chance. I'll tell you, when I've seen interviews on Fox, and when you get somebody coming in that's out from the other side, they don't treat them like this. They don't come in there and beat them over the head with, things they said in the past. They're very nice to them. They welcome them. They make them feel comfortable. Then you can lead up and maybe get into more serious questions that are rephrased differently. You don't come out and question somebody like that.
Yeah. Now here's the thing that's
Bill,
really
I agree
interesting.
with you entirely on that.
It was a hostile interview.
I appreciate that, Bill. I appreciate that, but what I'm hearing from you is you just want nice softball questions. That's what I'm hearing.
Not at all.
People, you have to be
There's
nice.
a difference.
You have to be
There's
nice.
a difference.
You have to. But Bill, you said okay. You said you had to start off. You had to start off being nice, and you have to be nice to the people. That's what you said.
I said respectful. And start off respectful, make them feel comfortable, then ask them some, questions, but then get in after the interview goes along.
She started off and said, "I'm going to address the elephant in the room." And that is the elephant in the room. I don't see anything wrong with
Tell me why she had to start off with that question, the way she phrased it.
Because, here's the reason why, Bill. Here's the reason why. I'll tell you directly. What is the largest question the average person had when Donald Trump walked onto that stage?
Why couldn't she ask it later?
No. What was the average? What is the question? No, Bill. What was the? What do you think, Bill? What do you think the question was of the average person when Donald Trump walked on that stage?
Well, it might have been that.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's why is he here? Why is he here?
I don't mind that question. Why are you here?
Yeah,
I hate the litany of 15 talking points from a political opponent that you're going to lay at their feet and then go, what's your response?
Here's the thing that's funny about this is I would assume, that's assumption based on my part, not based on knowledge, that if they came out and said, well, Donald Trump, you did this great thing for the black people, this great thing for black people, this great thing for black people, this great thing for black people, tell us why black people should vote for you. You would go, wow, that's a great question. Right?
No.
Oh, yeah. He might have asked, and if he was asked that question, he might have. But what I'm saying is her attitude right off the bat was hostile. I mean, it was in your face right off the bat. Now, why did she have to portray that question that way?
I wish more journalists were adversarial to the people they are interviewing. I think they are way too kind and don't push back often enough. I think what we saw with Rachel is much better than 90% of the journalists that we see when they're sitting there asking questions. I would much prefer to see questions like that asked on the Sunday morning TV shows than the crap we normally get. I wish George Stephanopoulos would watch stuff like that.
Between adversarial and hostile, Bill?
I don't believe that. Yeah, but Bill, I don't agree with you that was a hostile question.
Was hostile.
No, it wasn't.
Adversarial.
No, it was adversarial. It wasn't hostile.
Questions without being hostile.
No, it wasn't, Bill. It wasn't. And thanks for the call. It wasn't hostile because of at the end she said, "Why should they vote for you?" She didn't come to a conclusion. It would have been hostile if she came to a conclusion at the end there, saying, "Why did you make the stupid choice to be here, etc." Or why are you going to lie to our audience about this again? That's a hostile question. The idea of why should they support you is adversarial. Different. That's the difference.
Bill's line is open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Let's go to, we'll go to Joe in Arvada in just a second. I want to talk to you all about Roll 'em Out shelves. Last night I was making some spaghetti and got the sauces out and got the cheeses out and got all this noodles out. And I just was able to pull those drawers wide open, be able to access everything in our kitchen. It was absolutely wonderful. Roll 'em Out shelves are these Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado that allow you to pull and access everything that is in your cupboards without having to pull things out and reach back there. They have absolutely fundamentally transformed our kitchen. I use them every single day and love them. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today at 303-475-9601 or visit rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. rollemoutshelves.com. We'll continue jam-packed phone lines and text message lines about this is what the next 4 years I think are going to look like. I think that's partially good for America, but I also think this is why no one trusts the media, because they're a bunch of partisan acts. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking this interview that took place yesterday with Donald Trump and the National Association of Black Journalists. On one hand, I like the fact that the media and political leaders go back and forth, but they only do it on one side. They literally hid everything that was wrong with Joe Biden's mental facilities for years. And then when Donald Trump comes out, first questions out the gate, litany of 15 accusations that would come directly from a political opponent. And then the question, well, why should people vote for you? For all these problems, all these terrible things that you're a terrible human being. Why would people vote for you?
They didn't say terrible human being, though. That's the thing. Is you colored that inside of there. You colored that.
That's the way they colored him.
No, they didn't. They didn't
Yes,
say
they
you're.
did.
Hang on a sec.
You called black people animals.
Inside of the question, they never said you're a terrible human being. If
Yes,
they
they
came
did.
out,
That's the way they painted it.
no. You said that's what the interviewer asked. You were giving this hypothetical, and that didn't happen. That's not a fair critique. It would be fair to say they should say to Kamala, you were given the border czar. You didn't do this on immigration. We have this as far as immigration. You said this was going to happen here. This was going to happen here. Why should
those
these
would
people,
be fair policy questions.
Why would those things? Yeah, and or you can say you said this. You said this. You said this. That would be fine
If it was
too.
similar, it would have been, it could have been things she said, or even going into her background.
Yeah, you could have things like, yep, you said that you wanted to defund the police. You said this should happen. You should, and yeah, exactly. They can do the same thing.
And if
but
they
what
did that,
do,
I would be shocked, because they won't. They won't at all.
But
if
according to
Kamala
you,
Harris
though,
goes up there, they're going to be like, so
also
you're going to be the first black woman president.
Also, though, according
How
to
great
you,
is that going to
that
be?
line of questioning wouldn't be valid. So remember that, because you disagree with the line of questioning from Rachel at the National Association of Black Journalists. So if Kamala was given the same line of questioning,
if they
you
go
would say
up
it's unfair.
and they do a litany of 15 things that Donald Trump would have said about Kamala Harris, you're a DEI hire.
No, not would have said.
All that
they
stuff.
have to be accurate. So you can say things like Joe Biden trumpeted you as a diversity hire.
Right.
This. Those are all accurate statements. That's the thing we have to come back to. What Rachel said at the beginning, whether you agree it's fair or not, they are accurate. They are factually correct. And she didn't say, why are you a horrible human? That's it. Well, facts aren't really skewed, but that's okay. I mean, fine. I guess you can feel that way. That's more of an impression on you and your feelings than actual facts. I mean, you can feel that gravity is skewed. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I think that's different. I think what they're looking for is I think they're taking a lot of things out of context, and I think they've put together a litany of things to show that, to try to portray that Donald Trump is somehow a racist. And then, why should black people vote for you? I think that was the point of that question.
And I felt she was expressing the skepticism there inside the audience, because there's a lot of skepticism about him in the outreach and why he was there.
Why should there be skepticism among journalists?
No, she's expressing the skepticism of the room. Part of a reason you're there as a journalist is to ask the question that everybody's going to ask. You also should ask deeper questions other people won't ask.
Sure,
but
I don't
part of you
disagree
should
with
be
that.
there. And the number one question in that room when Donald Trump stepped on that stage is, why are you here? And that's what she outlined.
That's a fine question.
Yeah, and she did. She asked that, and she asked
But when
that.
you go into 15 attacks, totally skewed in a particular direction, and then ask, why are you here?
Why do the people in that room question? Well, why do the people in the room question why Donald's there? Why do they have those questions?
I don't know, but they can ask that.
It is specifically it is specifically based on the reasons that Rachel outlined at the beginning. That's why they question him.
But why
That's
wouldn't you? But why not
can't you
include
address
one
that?
positive thing he did for the black community?
Why should you have to? That's his job. You shouldn't have to.
Because you're a journalist.
No. Journalists do not have to ask questions that both contain happy stuff and bad stuff every time.
But they need to get to the news, and you need to get to the facts, Billy.
Yes, and she
and
got
the fact
facts.
is
She got the
not.
facts.
No. The fact is not
All
that
those things
Donald
are
Trump
facts.
is some racist that hates black people.
She didn't say that.
That is exactly what she portrayed.
No, not at all. She asked him why he's here. No.
Let's listen to it.
Okay.
Here we go.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Okay, that is, to Bill's point, he was exactly right. That's an interrogation.
No, not at all.
That is not an interview. That is an effort to portray him in a negative light, to skew him, to attack him. All of those points are negative, oftentimes out of context. You've called Black reporters stupid.
Yeah, he has.
What is the point of saying that? You don't think he's called any white reporter stupid?
But she's addressing the Black voters he's trying to get in the audience there.
Billy, the point of that is to make him look like a racist.
No, not at all. And she's asking, again, the people in that room have questions about why he's there. Those are the reasons they don't trust him. She asked the question.
Right there is the reason why nobody trusts the media. Because that is a load of crap. The more I listen to that, the more I'm set in my ways. That right there is why trust in media is in the tank.
Yeah, she should come out and ask him what his favorite ice cream is, right?
Well, they do to one candidate.
Yeah, in cases, yeah. Yep, they do with Joe Biden at times. Yes, but guess what? That wasn't the National Association of Black Journalists. Joe Biden has not been on the stage of the National Association of Black Journalists. Trump should get credit for that. But when Joe Biden wasn't there, they didn't ask him about ice cream. Again, there are softball questions that Trump gets asked as well in other situations. Yes, but your point is they hurt his feelings.
No, I'm not.
Get over it.
The point is that is not news. That is a room of journalists who are tasked with doing news. That is a partisan attack from a political opponent, not news.
Last time I checked, Rachel's not running for anything, so she's not a political opponent.
Oh, she's helping somebody.
No, but she's not. You identified her as a political opponent. She's not.
She is a political opponent.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not.
Who do you think she's going to vote for?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Billy.
Oh, okay. So now the idea is we have to decide who the people are going to vote for, and then we decide whether or not they're real journalists. Okay. If that's the filter, fine.
I'm telling you that there is motivation there.
If that's the thing,
there's motivation there that is not news.
No, the motivation there is to ask the question that the elephant in the room.
No.
The people there
the
had
motivation
the
there is to
based on
tank
it.
Donald Trump, Billy. You know that.
No, not
the
at all.
The motivation there is to take everything in that question was there to tank Donald Trump.
No, everything was there is to ask the questions and the skepticism that was there in the room.
No,
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, I know, because they didn't say happy, nice, sunshiny things about him.
Let's go to Joe in Arvada. Joe, you're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. This was really enlightening to me because, honestly, Billy, you're showing how your bias is interrupting your objectivity. Yes, but I maybe chew on that. Go back and listen to this segment again later, and you'll see it. Look, imagine this. See, part of the problem is none of these reporters that attack like this are giving Donald Trump due respect. He's the, former president, and they always say former president, but when they talk to President Obama, they say President Obama. You know, haven't you noticed, Billy? Anyway,
no, that's not universal, but I understand why you're saying it. It's not universal.
Well, the point is that they give President Obama respect, but Donald Trump is always treated dirt. And here's the thing. If they did the same thing, the Black community would be attacking that reporter. Imagine if President Obama went to like a Jewish outreach and the first attack reporter was listing all of the things that President Obama has done to, attack the white community, and then said, why should a white person vote for you, President Obama? Can you imagine the outrage? They would be just crawling off the walls to attack
Joe,
this
I
reporter.
agree. I agree. They would be just like the conservatives are crawling along the walls to attack this reporter. It doesn't mean that that potential question would be either invalid or unfair, as Jeff is saying. That if that reporter in your fictitious setup said stuff that was accurate about Obama and said, you did this, you have said this about Jewish voters, you have said this about Israel, you didn't support Israel here, you did this, in the past you have done this, that is a fair question. And the liberals would lose their mind. That doesn't excuse whether they're the behavior on the right either. The fact that both people act a fool in this situation doesn't make it better on either side, nor does it excuse the behavior. The other thing it doesn't also do is prove that the question was either invalid or wrong. That question in your fictitious situation would be valid.
I don't agree with you that these points were valid. They were taken out of context.
What ones are wrong?
Well,
if you say in front of a black audience that you called a black reporter stupid when he's called a lot of reporters stupid, doesn't mean that he's signaling out the fact that the reporter was black and calling them stupid as a result of it.
But he made the statement.
It's out of context.
No, he made the statement. It's not out of context.
It's totally out of context.
And Donald Trump had the opportunity to say, I have called a lot of people stupid. He had that opportunity, which is your point, Jeff. He could have easily done that. He had the opportunity based on the answer and the question given.
This was what my point was when I called, is that Donald Trump is the most authentic politician I've ever witnessed as running for president. He doesn't care what color you are. If you're dumb, Don Lemon, you're dumb. We don't care if you're black. We don't care if you're white. You're stupid.
You know, Joe,
you're stupid.
You know, Joe, I think that you've hit on something there that is somewhat unintentionally. I think we are going to agree on this one. I think that you are right that Donald Trump is authentic in who he is and what he's doing. And I also think that he did exactly what he wanted to do there at the National Association of Black Journalists. I don't think that he was on that stage to win votes in that room. He was on the stage to prove that he is the MAGA fighter. I think that those answers, especially some of the ones we get to later on, were directed not to anybody inside that room and nobody that has an overabundance of melanin in their skin. It was directed towards his hardcore red hat wearing supporters to show, look, I can sit in front of these journalists and I can give it to them. Grr. That's what I think that was. That's why his answers were couched that way. So that's what I'm expecting. Joe, I appreciate the phone call. I really appreciate it. It's so much fun to actually go back and forth with Joe sometimes. Yes, sometimes Joe can be a pain in my neck, and I know that I'm a pain in his rear end each and every day. I know a lot about pain. I had an underdeveloped sense of fear growing up, and I have found an amazing new set of medical professionals that are making a huge difference in my life, and I want you to go talk to them so they can do the amazing work they're accomplishing in my life, in your life. That pain does not have to be there. That neuropathy, that tingling, that difficulty moving around, you don't have to live with it if you talk to the team that I work with at Balance Wellspace. BalanceWellspace.com. Go check them out. They're brand new here in Denver. New offices in Lowry, right across the street from Hangar 2. Couldn't be easier to find. Also, plenty of parking. Very important for me, especially the shade trees in the parking lot, because then you can come back out and the car is still cool. So, now, Balance Wellspace, what makes them different? It's integrative medicine. It is a team that is working to diagnose what is wrong with you from start to finish. We're talking about chiropractic, neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more, along with some cutting-edge technologies as well. They're absolutely incredible. The stuff they're doing to loosen up my lower back is nothing short of a miracle. I had back surgery and shoulder surgery over 2 decades ago. Pain has been a constant in my life. Now, I'm not there. I don't have the lingering aches. I don't get up in the morning and feel stiff. I'm outside doing yard work and not regretting it later in the day, and goofing off with a dog when I can outside as well. Wish I could still play soccer, but has more to do with the size of my tummy than what Balance Wellspace is doing to my shoulder, my neck, and my back. Just yesterday, my neck had tensed up. I couldn't turn more than 45 degrees to the right. They did a small adjustment, a trigger point injection, and everything was fine inside of 6 hours. The best part about Balance Wellspace Wellspace. Check them out, balancedwellspace.com. It's a one-stop shop. You go there for one appointment, and they treat every little thing. They have created a treatment plan with you that is customized for what's wrong with you. They've created it only for you, and then every few weeks, they go back and they check in with each other. They talk to each other, they reevaluate how you're doing, and they make changes. You're involved in this process as well. When's the last time that your doctors talked about you and your treatment plan? Yeah, I know. Never. That's why you got to talk to the team I work with, Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, everybody else at Balance Wellspace. Help them help you. They can make a difference in your life just like they're making a difference in mine. Talk to them today. BalanceWellspace.com. They're the team that I trust. BalanceWellspace.com. Joe, thanks for the call. We got to get some other commercials right in here.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
It's been a fun morning.
So much fun.
And I thought I wasn't going to talk that much because of my voice. And there we go. Billy
There
gets
you
the
go.
best of me. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill
News
Show.
Talk 710 KNUS.
Billy, I'm all over the place today because we've had so many calls and text.
It's been amazing.
And I'm just going to go ahead and just pull the pin on the grenade and toss it out there.
Oh, yeah? Let's see. I'm curious now.
Kamala Harris black or Indian?
Oh, crap. We're in so much trouble. This one's going to get very interesting.
Because some news agencies are loving to tout her Indianness. Well, she is also touting her blackness. And can an opponent do that?
Well, you thought you hated me the last 2 hours. Put on a hat. Grab a helmet. Buckle up. This is going to get crazy.
And was so if Kamala can be black and Indian, does that make Barack white and black? Because you can just jump in between them.
Sure.
I don't know. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Go get a helmet. We're going to need it the next couple of hours.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, is Kamala Indian? Is she black? Does it matter? Is it appropriate for a candidate to just kind of pull that out when they need it? They can be Indian in some categories and black in others. But then my question is, well, then was Barack Obama the first black president if he was also a white president? How does that all work? I'm confused. We'll get into this and more, but let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Jeff. I thought they told us it was okay to identify also with whatever you want to be.
Well, there's some dudes punching girls in the Olympics right now.
Oh,
Blake,
man.
can I
just saw that.
Can I just take a moment and just say, if your worldview has gotten you to a point where men are punching women for sport, you may just want to take a U-turn at the next intersection and go back and figure out where you went wrong.
I agree. That would be the correct thing to do. It's just sickening. It really is. I saw that girl. She took 2 punches and she like forfeited, and she's like, I'm done. Yeah, I wonder why, because you don't want dudes hitting you, punching you in the face.
It's not chess. We're not having a chess tournament here.
Right? I'm telling you, man. That is horrible. I just saw that right when you brought that up. No, I agree. All right, 69, sunny behind the smoke, expecting a high of 99 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose my neighbors.
The Alexander Mountain fire is at 1% containment and has grown to 7,600 acres. That's just west of Loveland. More crews and resources are arriving today to focus on protecting the Highway 34 corridor. Human remains were found in a burned home in Boulder County in Lyons, and investigators are working to determine the person's identity. The Stone Canyon fire has burned 5 homes and more than 1,500 acres. It's about 20% contained. The Deer Creek Canyon fire forced 575 homes to evacuate Wednesday. Mark Techmeyer from the Jeffco Sheriff's Office on the Corey fire.
Every neighborhood in this facility is at risk. This fire is not an easy fight. The terrain is treacherous.
Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and American Paul Whelan will be released by Russia in a prisoner swap with the U.S. and other countries. Gershkovich was sentenced to 16 years in prison by Russia after being found guilty of espionage. The Wall Street Journal and the U.S. government have said he was wrongfully imprisoned. Whelan has been detained since 2018 on espionage charges. Former President Trump was kind enough to show up at the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, and it got ugly. ABC's Rachel Scott was evidently trying to win the George Snuffleupagus Award. They were 35 minutes late, and it took her 2 seconds to go after Trump.
Don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
Hello. Here's how she set up her first question.
You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States. Hello. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. Hello. You had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question.
Hello. Next time, say hello, Mike.
Blake, I'm coming up with a new term. I've just tweeted this to my friend Kyle Clark.
I love it.
Because Kyle Clark wrote, Rachel Scott showing journalists how it's done. Direct, fair, unafraid questions based on the candidate's own words and actions. Journalists, we can make this the standard, not the exception. So I retweeted, I'm developing a new term for journalists called Clarking. It's when journalists use a list of talking points that would come from your political opponent to demean your character and then ask you to respond and then claim it's news.
Oh, I like that. Clarking.
Very
good. Is it in quotes?
It is.
Your tweet? Very nice. I love it. I'll try to use it if I can.
You gonna go Clark somebody today?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Clark somebody. You know what? Trump should have asked Hillary how to sound relatable and genuine.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
Remember? I mean, that is the absolute worst.
Dude, pandering.
And the freaking mainstream media didn't say anything about that.
Look, it's pandering.
It's
and
horrible.
And Trump did it with 2 Corinthians, right? Like you sit there and you're like, okay, all right. Like we appreciate the effort. But you're not one of us. But in that case,
listen to the first 4 seconds of this.
I don't feel no ways tired.
I don't feel no ways tired.
So tell us what you think about black people.
Oh,
They can't put a sentence together. Hillary Clinton.
How do people believe that garbage? All right. Speaking of faking the front, Jeff, this pastor says Kamala is lying to you.
I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother for when she was the AG in California. A Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. He was dead in the water. Matter of fact, you don't need a trial. You might well go into jail if you appear before her because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling you, check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, you did, Kamala, however I should pronounce it. You did. And now we're supposed to forget all that stuff.
Oh, man, that's got to be top 5 for me. Trump says he'll go back to Butler where the attempted assassination occurred. He spoke in Harrisburg, PA last night and says he won't be deterred. A new report says Iran's Ayatollah is ordering an attack on Israel in retaliation for the killing of a Hamas leader. Iranian sources tell the New York Times that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has issued an order for Iran to strike Israel in retaliation for Wednesday's killing of a senior Hamas commander. Olympic golf is today. They tee it off. Broncos offensive tackle Quinn Bailey fractures his right ankle during practice, and the Rockies beat the Angels 2-1. 64 in Louisville, 67 in Aurora, 69 in Denver. It's going to be a beautiful day today. Jeff and Billy continue.
I come too far from where I started from.
Thursday, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for the heat to continue. Smoky, hazy, and hot. Temperatures in the middle to upper 90s. Slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm late, lows mid-60s. Highs will be hot in the mid to upper 90s Friday. Friday afternoon and evening, a few thunderstorms. Hot with 90s this weekend. Saturday dry. Thunderstorms, a few of them on Sunday. Weather sponsored by BranchPlanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at BranchPlanning.com or call 720-651-9800. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, Billy. Well, we covered one part of the controversy of yesterday's interview. It took place at the National Association of Black Journalists.
The easy part.
Now, let's get into whether or not is Kamala black.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this.
So what do you think Donald Trump's getting at there, Billy?
I think that he is playing to the MAGA audience. I think he's playing to his base. I don't think that is going to be an answer that is going to resonate with the people in the audience, but I don't think he's talking to them. I think he's talking to his base. He's showing a line of potential attack against Harris. And I think that the majority of the people inside of that room are going to find it off-putting at the very least, offensive at the greatest, and possibly a few even worse because of how he phrases it.
Do you think it's an issue that Kamala goes between Indian and black?
Here's the thing. I don't think it matters. And the ideas, and here's the ideas. This is the weird part. And okay, and I can't believe I just said the word, but okay, I'm going to go back here a second. This is why the current Democrat attack of they're weird can work, because of responses like this. This will reinforce the weird narrative for the demographic with which that description resonates, which are mostly people 35 and under. It is weird to say somebody has to be either Indian or black, that somehow we have to choose one based on racial makeup. She has a father from Jamaica and a mother from India. That would make her both black and Indian. So at times she can say, yes, I'm a black senator, I'm a black district attorney, and at times I am an Indian district attorney and an Indian senator, because she does have both cultures and both ethnicities. So the fact that the Republican Party and conservatives, and especially Donald Trump, want to make it an issue about a label that a person is using, because the issue is he's trying to label her. He's trying to just say she can only be this, when people in that audience are multi-ethnic. I would assume that you are multi-ethnic as well. Yeah. I am.
Well, I'm mostly English. But,
yeah. Well, I'm 50% Irish and about 50%
Here's where I sit here a little bit going,
What?
So is Barack Obama the first black and white? How?
Well, he wouldn't be the first white president because he got a lot of those.
Well, right. Yeah. But how is he the first black and also a white president?
Okay. So the issue would be, okay, maybe we should do it this way. I'm assuming that the Republican voters are aware that there are businesses out there that do genealogy, things like 23andMe and Ancestry.com. When people get their tests back, it is not one ethnicity. They don't come back and say, congratulations, you're Chinese.
But
they don't do that. No, hang on. But it's a mixture. So Barack would be a mixture. Yes, that's fine. But we like labels. And the problem is those labels seem to be intractable, that we want to designate someone as a particular race, minority, ethnicity, religion, whatever it is, even sexual orientation, and that's it.
I agree with you on that. I think the point that I have on all this is I'm like, this is just kind of the DEI Olympics where you end up with, or the intersectionality Olympics, right? The idea that somehow, because of your race, because of your gender, because of your sexuality, you get points.
See, that's the important part. And that's why this line of attack, exactly what you outlined there, and the idea of labeling Kamala Harris, I'm really working on that one. I'm going to mess it up routinely. The reason why it's wrong to label her as the DEI candidate is for exactly what you just outlined, because implicit in that statement is that she couldn't get the job on her own merit. And when it's said, when they say Kamala is a DEI hire, implicit in that statement is the job should have gone to a white guy, because she's obviously not qualified.
I don't think that's the case at all.
Oh yeah, it is, because here's the reason. Because if it's not a white guy, everybody else who's chosen is a quote DEI hire, because they're diverse. And that's the issue. That's why this is a horrible line of attack. Again, I'm just offering advice sitting on the sidelines. I know everybody thinks I'm a screaming lefty. I'm not. I hate the Democrats. I didn't like Joe Biden. But again, hold on. This is a bad argument.
When Joe Biden says, I'm going to appoint the first black woman Supreme Court justice.
Yep.
And then comes up with a name?
Yeah.
That's not meritocracy.
Nope. And I disagree with him doing that. And I disagree with his statement talking about wanting a diverse vice president and how he expressed it. It was bad. He walked right into the trap of the arguments against DEI, that the individual is hired based on their diversity, not based on their merit. The problem you're going to have, though, is that Harris has a decent resume. They didn't just pick up somebody out there at the Piggly Wiggly.
She was a
senator. She was a senator, and she was a senator,
and an attorney general.
And she was a senator longer than J.D. Vance, who is the Republican nominee.
Sure.
So the resume is different. So when you say, and that's why the DEI hire charge and this idea about her race is a very, very dangerous thing for Republicans to do, because the implicit attack inside of there is should have been a white guy. That's really where this is going. And that's the problem with the line of attack.
So I see it differently, because I see it coming from the left and putting all these points to things that are totally irrelevant, like your skin color or your gender or your sexual identity.
With respect, DEI was never about tilting the scales in that direction. It was much like affirmative action, where if the candidates are equal, look at the diversity.
They see it as, like, for instance, with Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? We're going to go out there and we are going to solve a problem. The problem being there is no black woman on the Supreme Court. Okay. So they see that as a problem. They are judging somebody particularly by their skin color. And they're going to go, the Supreme Court is going to be better if there's a black woman on the Supreme Court. Now we'll go find a person to fit that category, but that's their motivation. They think the world's going to get better than that because of it. The conservative point of view should be, and I'm not talking Donald Trump or MAGA or any of that other stuff, but the general conservative worldview would be the most qualified jurist with the best understanding of the U.S. Constitution and our legal theory should be the person on the U.S. Supreme Court, period. But now but the left has created this whole thing where you get points. You get bizarre points for being a particular sex, a particular sexual identity. We got to have the first gay president or vice president. We're going to put Pete Buttigieg in because he's good. We feel like the world's going to be better if there's a gay person there, not necessarily the best person to be the vice president, for instance. So they create these categories, and they somehow think that because of your skin color or your sexual identity or your gender, that you are going to, just purely based upon that, going to somehow improve the country. And it just keeps this country in this cycle of judging people by their skin color, by their gender, by their sexual identity, rather getting to, and I think you and I agree on this, Billy, the content of somebody's character, the meritocracy they bring to the job. That is what is actually going to make this country better.
Yeah. On a side note, it's a really weird thing to inject content of character. We're talking about Trump statements. It's really weird to do.
Of course you're going to go there.
Of course I am. When I see the opening, we'll take it. I agree with you that coming to the table and saying we need to hire this specific, woman, this specific black woman, a Hispanic, whatever it is wrong. But it also doesn't mean that Ketanji Brown Jackson wasn't the best qualified jurist. And that's kind of implicit in your critique. I agree with you that it would be wrong for them to start there.
But that wasn't my argument. That was Joe Biden's argument.
No, I say he's wrong about that. Yes, and it's and he should not have started that way. Yeah. It was awful for him to start that way, and it was stupid for him to start that way. But I also say that the makeup of the Supreme Court is better now that it does have a black woman jurist on there. Now, I'm not saying that she is or should be a DEI hire. She should not be given an advantage based on that, both sexual and multiracial profile.
Aren't you saying that her skin color matters then? When you say that, yes, because there's a black woman on the court, like I look at Clarence Thomas and I just go, I love the way the dude thinks. Yeah. Right? I don't care at all what his color is.
No, her skin color does matter. Yes, it does. I am saying that.
So
yes, I will agree to that.
Why does it make her better?
I didn't say it makes her better.
But you just said it made the court better.
Yeah, I said it made the court better.
So why does a black woman make the court better?
Because a black woman has a unique perspective in American society that has not been represented in large portion on the Supreme Court, because they come from a unique perspective and experience inside of American society. And that's why that body of knowledge increases the efficacy of the Supreme Court. And hang on a second. Hang on a second. Because that's the idea behind DEI. The idea behind DEI is solid. The implementation has been crappy. Yes, it is. Because, and here's the reason why. When you are creating a team, having people of more diverse backgrounds, experiences, creates a better team.
It does not.
Yes, it does.
It does. Really, in the NBA. In the NBA, when you're building the Denver Nuggets, you think about diversity of background. No, you think about what you need to win. That's the only thing. I need a three-pointer. I need a guy down in the post. I need, a good point guard. That's all you think about. Winning. Meritocracy. It doesn't matter if you came from Serbia or came from downtown LA.
Again, I'm not saying the decisions need to be made based on the diversity, but the diversity does help the organization. Always has, always will. Our military, when it was segregated by race, it was stronger once it was integrated because of the shared experiences. That is,
it was stronger because
movement.
You had good people in the military. The race had nothing to do with it.
But I know I'm saying.
So at what point?
I'm saying when it was integrated, it became a stronger fighting unit. They fought together rather than separate. That is stronger. Anytime that you are in a business,
it's not the diversity that made them stronger.
Yes, it is, because they were integrated.
It was the talent of the soldier that made them stronger.
Wait, hang on a second. Hey, wait, stop. Okay, so you're saying when the military was segregated, they had less talented soldiers.
Yeah, because you're putting some crappy white guy with another crappy white guy.
I disagree with that.
Maybe I missed the question, but if you're segregating the soldiers and you're saying we're just going to keep white units and black units, yes, you had a weaker military because you didn't have the best guys. You were arbitrarily segregating people. Maybe I missed the point of that question.
Well, it just was the idea that you said that that the integration wasn't necessarily a positive. You were just like, you said that they were weaker, that the soldiers, the individuals were weaker when they were segregated. I disagree. I don't think there was any weakness difference between the soldiers before or after integration.
The units were weaker.
The fighting units were stronger and better when they were integrated, based on the integration, not based on a change in talent. Those same units came together.
I think we're getting segregated and integrated mixed up here.
Okay.
I think that we had a better military when you had integration because you just put the best fighting guys together. You didn't arbitrarily segregate them based upon race.
Yeah, and I've agreed that making the choice based on the race or the diversity is wrong, but the diversity does help the organization. Universally, it does. In almost every situation, that's been proven. Offices do better, businesses do better.
But sports, it doesn't matter to sports.
Sports is
purely.
Sports is different.
Meritocracy.
Sports is. I disagree with you. Sports isn't purely meritocracy, and I will say that. And again, I can bring up a long list of current soccer players that are sitting on benches or have been cold-shouldered by coaches that are talented enough to start for their teams, but for a variety of reasons they don't. So it's not always a meritocracy. And sports are a little bit different because it's also based on athletic performance. And that can be, and part of it here, look at this one. I mean, if we want to talk about diversity, Kansas City is bringing in an Australian rugby player. That would be a DEI hire in theory because he's outside. He's never played football before. And now they're bringing it in.
But they're not trying to
better.
solve some social problem. They're trying to win a game.
Yeah, exactly. But they're stronger because of the diversity. And he may be able to bring some information.
Based on a skin color? They're stronger because of the skin color diversity?
I didn't complete my statement. I said they are stronger because of the experiences and knowledge that he brings in from outside the organization that nobody else there has. And that is directly his experience playing professional rugby. How does he run? How does he tackle people? How does he go after people? All of those things are things that he can bring to the team. That is the diversity that can help Kansas City. You're focusing on the race.
No one cares about that diversity. Your lived experience diversity is fine.
But that's part of it. That's part of DEI. That is part of the core of what it's talking about, because everybody has their own personal experience. And the problem we have is that everybody's focusing on the idea of what color our skin is. That's not the core of what DEI is. And I agree with you that the implementation of DEI...
absolutely the core of DEI.
No.
Billy, that is what it's all about. It is the belief that there's a systemic racism taking place in this country.
No, that's CRT. And this is an issue. And this is why. This is a huge issue. And I'm glad you brought that up, is that DEI is just the latest 3-letter thing that we're supposed to be afraid of. Because 2 years ago, we were supposed to be deathly afraid of CRT. And that's exactly what you just described. The systemic racism did. That's CRT. That's not DEI. But that's why this is an issue.
Come on.
That's why this is an issue.
DEI is all about solving the CRT and the critical racism. And by the way, this all the way goes back to Marxism. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Billy and I are having one heck of a day today. Let's go to Brian, Colorado. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Isn't it Joe Biden, the one that said you can't walk into a 7-Eleven, can't own a 7-Eleven without a slight Indian accent? Oh, and wasn't it him that said he didn't want his kids to grow up in a jungle? And it wasn't it Joe Biden who was against desegregating the schools before
super predators. Super predator.
So Joe Biden has said and done more racist things than Trump ever has. So
I don't know if we can say that. I don't know if we can say that, Brian. Biden, but I'm not saying that Joe. I'm not saying Joe is clean, but I'm not saying necessarily on balance. We can always say more. But,
I'm saying
they
Joe's
both have done
a
awful
racist.
Things.
I'm saying Joe's a racist.
Could have been in his past. Could have been.
So a racist picked African American or Indian, whichever way the wind's blowing that day for her, to be his running mate, and nobody cares. I mean, give me a break. She was a DEI hire for vice president. Her whole political career in California was a sham and a joke. I got 2 words for you. Look it up.
Brian,
read a book, Willie Brown.
Brian, hang on a second. Brian, let's talk about her career in California.
All about it.
I know about the Willie Brown, and that's before she got elected to office. So tell me how it was a sham when she was elected to office.
Anyone can get elected in California if you're a lefty.
No, that's not true. That's not true, Brian.
Yes,
Brian,
true.
hang on, Brian. That's a huge generalization, and you know that's wrong, because both you and I could bring up a long list of candidates that have lost races in California. Explain to me how she was not qualified when she won the races in California. Didn't the voters get her there? And that's the argument when you talk about Willie Brown. That's the argument about her lifting her skirt in order to get ahead. Voters chose her. Willie Brown didn't get her district attorney in San Francisco. Willie Brown didn't get her AG of California. Willie Brown didn't get her a Senate seat. Voters did.
Brown's
so either she slept with all of those voters, or you're wrong.
Willie Brown strong-armed everyone to vote for
all those voters.
Kamala.
Okay, so all the voters that went out there, Willie Brown went out and strong-armed them. Again, this is getting more ridiculous, Brian. I like you a lot, but this is getting really ridiculous.
It's California, Billy.
Yeah, getting really ridiculous.
It doesn't take a lot to get voted there. And what about the Hispanic guy that got passed over for her? It's not just about white guys. So that argument works.
Hey, Brian,
I have some Native American in me.
Brian, I got a question.
Am I a Native American?
No. Look,
do I get rights
maybe I just
if you have a certain percentage and you can show that based on your lineage, yes, you do get the rights. Yes.
Why
can't I just identify as that, Billy?
Because
it's in my blood.
It's based on that group of American Indians and how they have defined it. And that's
can we ever get to a point where we stop talking about this? I mean, seriously. So look, I was educated in the Cherry Creek public school system, right? And what I was raised all the way from elementary school all the way through high school, public schools, was that the goal, the vision, the viewpoint was to get to Martin Luther King's vision of judging a person by the content of their character. Are we ever going to, Brian, are we ever going to get to that in this country? Or is it always going to be about people's races?
That's where I fall, is with the best qualified person should be hired, and we should be judged on our character and not our color. That's where we should be. But it's the left pushes that against, doesn't want that to happen. They want these DI hires. They want CRT. The best qualified person should be hired. And I'm not confident that Kamala was the best qualified person for any of the positions.
Who was then, Brian? Brian, who was then the better choice for Veep for Biden?
The best qualified person.
How do you know that's not Kamala? See, the thing is, you have come to a conclusion that it wasn't Kamala, yet you have no alternative. And that's the problem.
How about those Republican? How about those Democrat congressmen, the twins from Texas?
Yeah, here's the thing though, is that it's odd that you go back to the white.
That person was qualified.
Yeah, you go back
and he was Hispanic. Why didn't he pick him, Billy?
Couldn't Biden have figured that Kamala is more qualified than them? Couldn't he made that decision? You see, you're coming to the conclusion that he made the decision based on DEI, and I agree that he made this statement and it was stupid. But we don't know for a fact that he chose her based only on the color of her skin. And that's the problem. You've come to the assumption that she doesn't deserve the job. And this is why I outlined earlier, this DEI attack is very, very, very dangerous for conservatives and for Republicans.
No.
Yes, it is.
It's dangerous for you, Billy, but it's not for people
Brian,
like me.
I know, Brian, the issue is that the implicit thing inside that statement is that a white guy should have gotten the job. And that's the problem with this statement. Be careful with this attack.
Why do you go to white guy? How come Hispanic guy should have got that job? How come an Indian guy shouldn't have got that job? How about a Hispanic woman shouldn't have gotten that job?
Because here's the reason, Brian.
How come you always have to default to the white guy?
Hey, Brian, and here's why. I'll answer your question. I'm more than happy to. The answer is this. If it was that Hispanic guy, conservatives would still call him a DEI hire. If he was a Native American guy, he would still be called. He would still be called a DEI hire. If he was
the reason they're called a
DEI
hire is because Joe Biden said it was. Were we going around saying Barack Obama was a DEI president?
I believe the thing there was that he wasn't even a citizen and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't think we got that far down the list.
But did we say he was a president just because he was black?
I think so, yes. Yes, that was part of the attack. Yeah.
I worked for Mitt Romney. That was never one of the attacks. The attacks was he was
Barack
a freaking raging leftist.
Probably the least qualified person to become president. And guess what? People voted for him. Does that make him qualified?
Well,
I don't think so.
Yeah, because the voters chose him. I mean, that would be the qualification.
Qualified. That doesn't make you qualified. So we can't go on vote. Democrat voters are idiots for the most part.
So Brian, you would say that then it's fair. Brian, you would say it's fair then that if Kamala wins, you can call up and say that Kamala's not qualified to be president. And then you would also agree it would be fair if Donald Trump gets the office that I can say Donald Trump is not qualified for the office. That would be a fair critique. I would say
there's more people qualified than both of them to be president.
Oh, hell yeah. I would say that in the 10. Yeah, absolutely. I can think of 10 off the top of my head.
Trump isn't a DEI hire.
This is where we are, though.
All right, well, Brian, I appreciate the call.
Brian,
Thank you.
Maybe it's based on his age, man. Maybe we need to get more old people. Maybe that's it. He's the DEI based on ageism.
Brian, appreciate the call. Brian's line will be open 303-696-1971. Billy, we just are walking around hitting hornet's nests today. We're having a wild morning. Hey, want to talk to you about my friends Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. If you are considering selling your home, go with the team that is going to not only give you top level service, but will also help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. Gay Ribble is proven to get more for sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. They don't just make this claim, but they can sit down and actually show you their list of over 14,700 buyers. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home, but isn't it all about how much you put in your pocket after closing? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price or Gay will buy it. Guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's 833-301-SOLD or gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Who's up next? Billy J?
Yeah, Jay's up.
All right, Jay Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Jay, we got you?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we got you.
Hello?
Yeah, I jumped for a second there. It's my fault.
Sorry. Go back and watch the Star Trek with Frank Gorshin, where everybody on the planet is black and white on either side, and they hate one another because one is black and one is white on opposite sides.
Yeah, it's like the Sneetches.
Yeah. Yeah. So, military contractor, when you integrate the military is the first real integrator of people of all forms. Of course, the Native American Indians broke codes and so on. I have Indians in my family, Native American. But what I think is so important, and you guys were talking about the military, is it is the ultimate non-segregationalist. And it was the first time that black and white and other colors slept in the same barracks and showered and things like that. You know, and I commend that because my commander at Lowry Air Force Base, Master Sergeant Major Ed Henley, and I hope somebody knows him, is the highest ranking NCO in the Air Force. He's the highest ranking man, black man, the smartest electronic engineer I've ever met, and basically helped my career take off like a rocket in 1982. I challenged him on a theory in front of the class, and I was right. And he was so mad that he waited till everybody left. And he said, if you ever do that in front of my class again, I'm going to knock you out. This guy is amazing. And let me tell you, some of the people who take your faith, you know, black people and Hispanic people are by far more faithful than most white people I know. I just want to throw that in there.
Well, and Jay, everything you're describing to me, like with the military, is meritocracy. Right.
Yeah,
you advance in the military based upon your ability to fight or your ability to do this job. Or like I've often said, if Harvard is just full of Asian kids, well, the country's going to be better because we're educating really great top performing kids to do even better. So with the military, when you got to integration, it wasn't just about integration. It was about putting the most qualified person, irregardless of whether you're black or white, into a position of leadership because you were the best person based on your talent. That's where I want to get to as a country. All right, Jay, we're just out of time. Appreciate the call. Jay's line will be open 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Is Kamala Harris a black candidate, a Indian candidate? Does it matter? Will the country ever move on? Or is race just, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said slavery was the original sin in this country.
Yeah.
And we are going to pay for this forever.
Yeah.
And we were never going to be able to move past it.
We've talked about this a little bit before, and this is tangential, but that's one of the things that I admire about South Africa is they forced a conversation over apartheid between both sides. We've never had the stones to do that.
You don't think we did with the Civil War?
No.
I think that we forced a very big conversation.
No, not at all. And the reason I would say that is because of Jim Crow, Dred Scott, and the civil rights movements, that we did not have that conversation. And even during the civil rights movement, we refused to have that conversation, and we still do today. Yeah. And
what does that conversation look like?
Painful. Really, really painful. But it would have to be, and the problem it's going to be painful is because both sides would have to own up to their sins and acknowledge fault. And based on human psychology, one of the most difficult things to do is say, I'm wrong. The second most difficult thing to do is to say, I'm sorry. And that's what we'd have to do. And we're not willing to.
But
as a society.
Help me understand how somebody in the 80s, born in the 80s, is wrong about racism.
Exactly. That's the problem, because the psychology embedded in there is that because you're in the 80s or the 90s, that you didn't have anything to do with it, despite the fact that if you would go back to about 1975, things were absolutely atrocious for minority communities in this country. And those are contemporary people. And they're also people that still.
I understand Jim Crow and stuff like that. But so it almost sounds like you're talking about white privilege, Billy.
In some ways, yeah, there is. But that's just an implicit thing. And it's not. And again, because of how things are set up. And I'm not talking CRT. I'm talking more about just internal biases. And that has to do with, and this kind of goes into what the DEI hire is inside of DEI. One of the things that is talked about is internal biases based on preferential choices connected to your own experience. The example would be you have two candidates in front of you. They're both fairly equal. There isn't a heck of a lot delineating between the two of them. But if one of them went to the college where you went to, 90% of the time, you're going to choose that candidate versus the other, regardless. And there are even times
but then your company loses out.
But and I know, and this is the problem, is that the assumption that all these choices are based on meritocracy, even though we believe we're making the choice based on meritocracy, sometimes we are not.
That's happened in all of human history.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it. Yeah.
I don't think it's racism. I don't know where.
I'm not saying, and I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily racism either, but it is preferential treatment and is biases that exist on a variety of different levels.
But going back to your description of how we get past all this, it seems like that just is going to continue to perpetuate it.
Yeah, because and part of it is going to be because and I'm talking about someone that lacks a severe amount of melanin in my skin, that people that look a lot like me don't want to take any responsibility for what our forefathers in this country did to specific minorities. We want to say, well, that wasn't me, despite what has happened inside the country. If we would turn around and say, this is horrible, this is awful, I can't believe this has happened, how can we help you, how can we move forward? If it was more of a conversation about that, we would do better. And on the other side, there still is the idea of, you guys are just trying to keep us down all the time. You put up these systems, and that's where the CRT side comes from. You put these systems in place to make sure that we can't get ahead, that we can't do this, that we can't do this. And so we're talking at each other, but we're not listening. And that's the problem. And that's it. And we are not ready to have that conversation. Nobody is ready to have that conversation in this country right now.
So then we just keep going.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Just you bought a ticket for the ride. Just hope the safety bar is down.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think we're going to reach a point where we're just exhausted of it. I hope so. I mean, it's just like, come on. We're jumping between whether or not Kamala is black or Kamala is Indian, or is she a woman? Is she better because of all those? Is she worse because of all those? And I just think most people are like, how does that help my life?
Yeah,
you're going to be the president of the United States. Help my life with your leadership, and the skin color, what's in between your legs, or anything else doesn't really matter.
Yeah, which is exactly why I keep telling my conservative friends, stop with the DEI and race questions about Kamala. That is not going to be fruitful for your attacks.
And I tell my liberal friends to stop making it so important to your identity. All right.
Fair
we'll
point. Fair point.
Continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. If you think our conversation's interesting, you should hear what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. We're doing a whole different show off the air. And we're not even arguing with each other or anything. It's just like, this is interesting. This is interesting. And we'll have to bring that on the air someday.
You know, it's been a passionate discussion, irregardless of the issue.
Thank you. High five. High five. Nicely done. Well done, sir.
That's
why we're friends.
4787. You just make me want to use it even more.
And that's why Jeff and I are friends. Exactly.
We would have been fun middle school friends.
Oh my God, we would have been in so much trouble. The problem is, I would have gotten us in a lot of trouble. I know that you had that bend.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that you had come with me on some of my crazy adventures.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And the other part is, you would have had a lot more stitches. A lot more stitches, my friend. A lot more.
I tended to get in trouble, but didn't get caught all that often.
Hey, could have taught me some stuff.
Yeah,
I like that. I just sit
me
in the
and
hall
the Cherry Hills Police.
Oh yeah, they knew me too. That's a whole different story.
They literally had nothing to do, so we had to give them a hard time. All right, we're going to continue this conversation. Phone lines are full. Let's see. Let's get to Andrew, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey guys, love the show. I text a lot first time calling in.
Great.
I just had 2 quick points, Jeff, and I feel like you and Republicans do this all the time, but you're in control of the topics of the show. You're running this ship, and you're the one who brought up, hey, is she Indian? Is she black? I don't know. And then halfway through the conversation, you're saying, can we ever stop talking about race? I don't hear
Fair
any of my
point.
liberal friends hear any of my liberal friends bringing this up unless it's to defend her, when basically the implication is because she's black and a woman, she's in that position, and that's it. No one ever says that except Republicans. You're bringing it into this conversation.
So, good point, because there was an article by Abigail Schreier about how all these attacks do is just rile up her base. It doesn't actually appeal. But when, Andrew, I'll ask you this, when Joe Biden says, I'm going to appoint a black woman to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then finds the person to fit that category, do you think that's right?
I don't have any proof that's what happened. Did Kavanaugh get picked because he's white? Like that's a ridiculous statement.
But Trump, but that's what Biden said. Biden said, my next pick is going to be a black woman. And then he went
fine.
and
That
then
doesn't
he
mean
went
just
and
Katonji
found a
and picked
woman.
her. He means he wants to increase diversity. I think that's a great statement. I see no issue with that. And then he went and found someone who was qualified. I think that's great. Trump
Qualified based upon their
Christian white
meritocracy
nationalists.
or
Did that
qualified
bother
based
you?
upon their race?
Well, are all the Christian white nationalists Trump's pick qualified? Like, people align themselves with people who share their vision and values, and that makes sense.
Oh, Andrew,
All right.
I gotta catch you off, Jeff.
All right, we're out of
go.
show. You're
The music,
listening. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Whew, made it.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City, and you've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Our friends that are criticizing my grammar this morning sent me a great little badge via the text message.
Oh, cool.
It says grammar police to correct and serve.
I like that. Oh, and I feel that because my mother was an English teacher. So little Billy got corrected a lot. a lot. And she was always right. Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue the conversation we're having. We have nearly full phone lines. We got one open line. If you'd like to give us a call, 303-696-1971. How big and important is race going to be in this presidential election? Do you think that Kamala Harris is somehow better qualified because she is a Black or Indian or woman? Does that give her a different, unique perspective that's important in her leadership? Or is it all irrelevant? And what should happen is that the most qualified leader, regardless of being a man, woman, Black, white, Indian, should be the president of the United States. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. And do you feel like the left just uses this as a trope? Do they just drag this out and claim the card when it's relevant for them? Here is Kamala talking about being the first Indian senator.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
So happy to be the Indian senator there, talking about being an Indian on another show.
Okay, so what we're going to cook today is an Indian recipe. Yes. Because you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that, but I find that wherever I go and I see Indian people at the supermarket, on the street, everyone's like, Kamala Harris is Indian, right? It's like our thing we're so excited about to have you running for president. Yeah. So we're both Indian, but actually we're both South Indian.
Yes. You look like the entire one half of my family.
Okay, thank you.
You do.
I've been telling people we're related already, so this is perfect. It's basically true. And so were you raised eating South Indian food?
Talking about being Indian, and then this is Trump yesterday talking about how now all of a sudden Kamala is Black.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black
I
woman. She went to a
respect either
historically Black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too. When you
There's a lot of people laughing.
continue in a very
laughing at him.
hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I really
Republicans
don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this.
That was funny. And the audience was laughing at him. And yesterday there was a trend of when I turned Black yesterday. And it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, it is funny in real time to hear a conservative realize that someone can have two different backgrounds, that can multi-ethnic. That's strange. Yeah, that'll be fun. And again, I think there's a huge danger for my conservative and Republican friends to continue this attack line. It is going to boomerang into your face in a spectacular fashion. It is going to alienate more voters than you're going to get. It resonates with the people that are already going to vote for Trump, and it alienates the people you need to win over. It's a dangerous line. Oh yeah, 110%
I think what Trump is doing is he just doesn't believe in this DEI baloney, and he's calling out these politicians that like to highlight different aspects of whatever is beneficial when they walk into a room. I'm Black in this room. I'm Indian in this room. I'm whatever else I need to be. And the question I have is just, does that matter in the candidate that you're looking to elect? Does race matter? Or are we going to embrace a point at some point, like Martin Luther King brought up, that we judge somebody by the content of their character. So I think he's just pointing out the fact, as I did with the 2 previous clips, that she just kind of embraces the race that she wants to at that point. I'm Indian here. Maybe black here. And then the question I had was, okay, so it just seems a little odd to me that Barack Obama was the first black president and also a white president. How does that work? All right, we'll get to the phone lines in a second, but let's talk with Blake Olson on the news. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. I thought Bill Clinton was the first black president.
Yes, that's. And then Joe Biden, you ain't black if you're not voting for Joe Biden.
You know what? This is our biggest problem. I remember being in a bus when you're building houses in Mexico and you're in a bus and you're going across the border and everything. And I'll never forget this. It drove me nuts. But this is the majority of Americans. They're looking at the card and it says nationality. And there are like 20 people on the bus. Well, what do you put for nationality? You're an American.
Yes.
That is the problem.
Yes.
I mean,
Blake,
a simple question like that, and we don't know how to answer it. It's irrelevant. It's like Prager talks about all the time. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
75 and sunny behind the smoke, expecting a high of 99 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, former President Trump is sitting for a victim interview today with the FBI after the attempted assassination of him. The interview will be consistent with any other victim interview. Trump says he'll go back to Butler, where the attempted assassination occurred. He spoke in Harrisburg, PA last night, and says he will not be deterred.
Every neighborhood in this facility is at risk. This fire is not an easy fight. The terrain is treacherous.
That's Mark Techmeyer from the Jeffco Sheriff's Office on the Quarry fire.
I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose my neighbors.
The Deer Creek Canyon fire forced 575 homes to evacuate Wednesday. The Alexander Mountain fire is at 1% containment and has grown to 7,600 acres, and that's just west of Loveland. More crews and resources are arriving today to focus on protecting the Highway 34 corridor. Human remains were found in a burned home in Boulder County in Lyons, and investigators are working to determine the person's identity. The Stone Canyon fire has burned 5 homes and more than 1,500 acres. It's about 20% contained. Thank you to all the brave firefighters out there today and every day working for us. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and American Paul Whelan will be released by Russia in a prisoner swap with the U.S. and other countries. Gershkovich was sentenced to 16 years in prison by Russia after being found guilty of espionage. The Wall Street Journal and the U.S. government have said that he was wrongfully imprisoned. Whelan has been detained since 2018 on espionage charges. Former President Trump was kind enough to show up at the NABJ, the National Association for Black Journalists, and it got ugly. ABC's Rachel Scott attacked Trump after they were 35 minutes late getting started.
Don't even say hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network.
And then she wanted to know if Trump thought Harris was a DEI hire. And obviously, Jeff and Bill have been talking about this all morning long.
How do you define DEI?
And we're going to keep on talking about it.
How do you define
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally
definition
the words.
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a
you have
very
to
direct question.
Define it for me if you
I just defined it.
Yeah, that's what happens. Now, I am so confused. So we need a real intellectual on all this stuff. I'm just fried. How about influencer Ariel Fodor?
Because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change. As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do check your blind spots. You are responsible for your algorithm, believe it or not.
Surprising. She used to be a teacher. That's unbelievable.
Who is that?
Her name is Ariel Fodor, and she was on. Look, man, it goes on. It's twice as long as that. It was on X all day.
That is
that great?
That is classic.
It's even worse to watch it because it's just cringe. It's going.
I mean,
down the back of my
it is.
spine.
We are becoming a country of division. And Blake, to your point, we're getting text messages here. Like, you make an excellent point. It is American.
Yeah,
we are Americans.
Absolutely. I mean, Jesse Jackson started the whole African American thing. I remember this used to just drive me crazy 15 years ago, and you'd be talking to some white people probably on the left, and they go, yes, he's a really nice African American man. I'm like, you mean he's black? I'm white. I'm an American. But it's just so stupid. I'm getting sick of this. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. We're talking about all this and get rid of this garbage.
But see, Blake, that's Billy and I were talking, like, at what point do you get past all this?
Yeah.
And I really think that people are just going to get tired of it. I mean, think about kids born in like 2010, right? 2010. That feels like yesterday for me.
Absolutely.
And they're now 12 years old or 14 years old. And we're saying you're part of some systemic racist. You're like, I'm 14 years old. I was born. It feels like yesterday. How am I part of this system? And they're just going to go, I have friends who are different colors. We don't care. We're just friends. We're Americans. Move on.
Exactly. It's so elementary. It's ridiculous. All right, let's see. Broncos offensive tackle Quinn Bailey fractures his right ankle during practice, unfortunately. And the Rockies beat the Angels 2-1. And it is the greatest time of year. Fall camp, college football practice underway. Strength coach Hill at UNC. Yeah, love it. It's like 100 degrees, 120 on the field turf, and college football practice is back. 72 in Superior, 73 in Englewood, 75 in Denver. And Jeff and Billy continue, the two white guys, just trying to figure out the world. Thursday morning, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for the heat to continue. Smoky, hazy, and hot. Temperatures in the middle to upper 90s. Slight chance of an isolated thunderstorm late, lows mid-60s. Highs will be hot in the mid to upper 90s Friday afternoon and evening, a few thunderstorms. Hot with 90s this weekend. Saturday dry, thunderstorms, a few of them on Sunday. Weather sponsored by BranchPlanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you a peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at BranchPlanning.com or call 720-651-9800. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Get to the phone lines here in just a second. As you know, the Jeff and Bill Show was the top-rated talk radio program at Westward. I think specifically because of conversations like this, we're happy to have them where other stations aren't. But our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration, the top hair restoration company in Denver as well, according to Westward, summer is the time to look and feel your best. But I'm not talking about your abs or your tan. Guys, I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair's summer sales event is on for a limited time, so get the details and schedule your free consultation today. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Let's go to Ralph, Colorado Springs. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ralph.
Good morning. First of all, I have to I have to confess that I grew up in a town where the only difference between the Ku Klux Klan and fundamentalist Christianity depended on whether it was Saturday night or Sunday morning.
That's sad.
Wow.
No, it is history. And I think we're very glad to be by that. But, Jeff, you're talking about picking Ketanji Brown based on she was a black woman.
Yep.
First and foremost, that isn't racial. That's political. You got Donald Trump, who chose 3 justices based on their religion, politically on their religion, opposition to abortion. We confuse a lot of things under the banner of politics. That allows us to say anything we want to say about anyone we want to say it about. And I think what we need to step back and look at is, I believe there is a hidden basis of racism in this country. And unfortunately, it's Christianity. I mean, what color is Santa Claus? What color was Jesus? What's your answer?
Well, Jesus was Aramaic, so he was Jewish in the Middle East. I don't think he's white.
And it would depend on which version of Santa. Are we talking about
Which
the Coca-Cola?
version?
Are we talking about?
Which-
Are we
which
talking about the German version? Are we talking about Coca-Cola version?
Yeah,
The Fat
see,
Happy Santa.
I think those are coming more from the cultures, not necessarily the religion. And
Or the
Ralph,
advertising.
Ralph,
Precisely
you-
my point.
don't you-
Religion is the basis of the culture.
But do you think Christianity had anything to do with the ending of slavery?
Certainly it did.
Okay. Well, so it was both the cause and the ending.
What you're asking is a political question tied into religion. And let me give you one more quick story. The first equal opportunity lawsuit in Hawaii was by white people against the tour buses that were hiring Kama'ainas or Hawaiian ethnics.
Yeah, the natives. Yeah.
Precisely. And the reason was, out there, whites were in the minority.
Yeah.
Now, I go back, put it this way. I was in the Air Force when Barack Obama's parents were creating him. So I go a long way back and have watched a lot of this moving forward. And I think we're going the right way. But when we start talking about the political question of should Ketanji Brown Jackson be appointed because she was a black woman? Well, no, we're asking the wrong question. Or maybe let me rephrase that. We're upset about the wrong thing.
Okay.
What we're upset about is the politics of someone in the White House choosing a Supreme Court justice not based on qualification. Or maybe put it this way, what is the qualification? The qualification really is political, not
Okay.
racial.
Well, Ralph, I appreciate the call. Thanks so
That's
much, Ralph
interesting. Yeah,
from
thanks,
Colorado
Ralph.
Springs. His phone line will be open,
Yeah, that's-
303-696-1971. Go
That's
ahead, Billy.
interesting. It's an interesting filter that he talks about the idea of Ketanji Brown Jackson being a political hire. And that's an interesting take on the idea of DEI. And I can see his point on that. I can see that on both sides, the choices made for particular nominations for the highest court in the land would be based more on politics rather than DEI. But I would go back and say that, however, I do feel that Biden stepped in it by coming out and predetermining a series of those qualifications. And unfortunately, those do fall into immutable characteristics. And that's where I think he overstepped it, where Trump can come out and say, I'm going to put someone on the court that is going to rule this way. Even though we would say, oh, wait, hang on a second. You shouldn't tell the justices, you shouldn't pick a justice based on how they're going to rule on a particular case. That would be more egregious in some conversations than just picking somebody because of their ethnicity. But makes a good point. I appreciate that, Ralph.
I want to talk to you about my friend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. I've gotten to know Gay here in studio. She's come in to answer questions. This is an absolutely delightful person. And if you're going to sell your home, you want to work, first of all, with somebody that just radiates this joyful kind of light about them, because, look, selling your home is so stressful, right? You got to deal with the inspections and negotiations and the market. You want a true partner, and that is who Gay Ribble is. Number two, she gives back to this community. She supports orphans in the state of Colorado because she was an orphan herself, found a wonderful forever family, and she wants those kids to be able to find their forever family too. So when you hire Gay Ribble, you're hiring somebody that's trying to improve this community as well. And most importantly, she is a titan when it comes to selling homes. She can get her clients an average of $30,000 more when she sells a home. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's because she has a list of over 14,700 buyers ready to go. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home, but isn't it all about how much you're going to put in your pocket after closing? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price, or Gay will buy it. Guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team at Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Let's go to Neil Wheatridge. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Neil.
Morning, Neil.
Morning. I can't believe you made me wait 30 minutes. I mean, I am a white guy. Aren't I entitled to a little bit more expedient service?
Go to the front of the line.
Yeah, next time, Neil, I'll put you on the white guy line. I apologize. It's my fault. Totally my fault. I DEI'd you, my friend. I'm sorry. That's not okay.
Let's watch that, Bill.
I'm sorry. What's on your mind, man?
No. Well, before the break, when I called, you had a guy on there. He you could tell he was on the left, and I was starting to think, maybe not that I was agreeing with him, but at least I thought he had some coherent argument. But then all of a sudden he kind of backpedals and uses the phrase white Christian nationalists, which is contrary to everything he was talking about, labeling.
Yeah, he was talking about how he doesn't label anybody. It's only the right that does. And then he called us white Christian nationalists.
Yeah, it's like, okay, myself, when I vote on a person's character, the things they've shown, what they've done, merit. Let's call meritocracy, as you phrased it. But I just find it amazing that the left brings up this whole thing of accusing the right of using racism, and yet all along they've been doing the same practice themselves. They just don't like that we're using their same methodology, or at least in their eyes that we are.
It's interesting that they use it. And look, I think I'm trying to have eyes wide open on this, because politicians will walk into a room. I'm from Cherry Hills. If I walked into a room at Cherry Hills, I'd say I'm from Cherry Hills. Or if I walked into a room of river guides, I'd say at one point I was a river guide. You know, and they kind of do that to connect with people. So if Kamala is just saying in one capacity, I'm Indian, and she walks into a room and says, I'm with other Indians, I'm an Indian. And then she walks into a room of black journalists and says, I'm black. Is she using race negatively, or is she just kind of doing what every politician does?
Well, obviously she's going to play the game because she's sat under the tutelage of the left anyway. But I think that it's very disingenuous to try to accuse somebody of something, and yet you're doing the same practice yourself, bringing race into it. She could build on what she did as an AG in California. She could build on whatever she accomplished as VP. But no, everything is coming back to trying to label the right and just use argumentation of name calling instead of building upon her own supposed qualification.
Now, Neil, isn't Trump the one in that conversation that we had earlier, the one doing the name calling? Because he sits there and he talks about her Indian heritage and how he thought that she was Indian all the time, even when he donated $6,000 to her campaign in California, that she was Indian. He was full Indian. And then, but he's using that and then he turns around and goes, now she's this and now she can change. Isn't he doing the exact same thing you're complaining about? He's using that as a wedge issue.
Yeah, but it comes back to he's just playing what they want to hear as far as how do I put this? He's using the very same thing they've been doing. Yeah, I think he should build more on his policies as well. He should build on what he did, what he accomplished.
Explain to me.
But when they throw a question at him like they did, and like he put it, they were very rude in the approach. They didn't, they didn't have Kamala there, but they had him there.
But shouldn't that have been an advantage for him? I mean, Neil, hang on a sec, Neil. I don't think that it's a negative, as you're seeming to use it as, that Trump is the one that was there and invited personally, and Kamala wasn't. They talked about possibly doing a Zoom, and I believe that behind the scenes is because Kamala's people didn't want to give Trump the only opportunity to speak to that audience. That is oftentimes done as far as strategy. But I disagree with you that it's a negative that Donald Trump was the one that was there. And I also disagree with you about the questions being rude. I'm sorry. I believe the politician should have to answer those questions regardless. I'm sorry that we're worried about whether or not someone's feelings were hurt. For me, that's somewhat irrelevant in the conversation. I understand that Trump had hurt fifis, but so?
No, I get your point, and I agree to the point. But I think there is such a thing as having a little bit of dignity in class when you are asking a question in the first place. She didn't get right to a question. She built up this whole litany of things and then bombarded him as like, okay, do you want to ask your question based upon having a litmus already established ahead of time?
Yeah, 15 accusations of how terrible a person you are. So why should people vote for you?
Yeah, 15 facts,
Neil,
not accusations.
Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Neil's line will be open 303-696-1971. Want to talk to you about my friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. He's a pro-life. He's pro-family. He's pro-America. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's the son of a police officer, former seminarian, who has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Some of those attorneys out there, you see their billboards, you just don't trust them. Dan Kaplis is the guy to trust. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. He's a serious lawyer for serious cases, but he's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, or hit dankapleslaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLISlaw.com. Gary, you'll be up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
So Kamala Harris is going to possibly be the first Indian president, first black woman president. Help me understand. Can someone be at the same time both a black president and a white president?
Ethnic diversity. I mean, that's
So-
how backgrounds work.
So they
sort of.
are, right? So so Barack Obama was the first black president, and at the very same time, a white president.
Yes, that is technically correct, absolutely. But he was also the first president that was at least partially black, that had black history and ancestry, and a significant portion of it. So that's why the identifier was there. But yes, he also, because of his background, is white as well. Just like my cousin has a black father, white mother. My aunt's white. So he is multiracial that way, married a Hispanic woman. Their children now have an ethnic history of Caucasian, black, and Hispanic. All three.
And are we getting to the point where we just kind of like jump in between, like, I'm part German, I'm part English, I'm part Irish?
Yeah, we do that all the time.
And
Everybody's
you
Irish
just
on
kind of
St.
jump
Patrick's
in
Day.
between that, right?
Well, it's not a matter of jump. The idea is this is the problem that we're having in the conversation, is that people believe that it is a singular choice. And no one, well, I won't say no one. Okay. Almost no one in America has a single solid ethnicity that is that doesn't have influence from other parts of the nation, other parts of the world. We are a blended society many times. The people that are going to have the what you'd say more pure ethnicity would be the recent immigrants, both legal and illegal. Because I know I can say that.
But do you think we treat race the same way? Like I'm black as in somebody's Irish or German? Like it's just part of something. But because it seems to me like we put a lot more weight on race.
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And that's part of in my opinion, part of the history of our country, because we have, since our founding, put a huge emphasis on race. And this brings us back to the conversation earlier this hour about how we don't want to have the conversation about race. So we've closed the circle here, my friend. But yeah, and you're absolutely right that rather than the idea background of, German or Belgian or even Chinese, it leans more on the Asian race. It leans more on black. It leans more on Caucasian. It is. And that is absolutely incorrect. And you're right about that. Yeah, you absolutely are.
Let's go to the phone lines here in just a second. I want to talk to you about my friends at QC Kinetics. Look, I just had a very close family member of mine get a knee surgery done. And brutal, right? Replace the knee. And he's getting better, but it's going to be like a 6 to 8 week recovery. And he said to me the other day, don't ever have this done. And he reached that point because there was no other alternatives. And we often talk about his other knee, and he's going to go do the process with QC Kinetics to hopefully not have to get to the point where he has to get to surgery. Why is QC Kinetics so important? Well, they use this thing called regenerative medicine. Okay. This taps into your own body's healing properties so you can move again, get those joints healed. You don't have to use steroids, surgery, pain pills. Those aren't the only options anymore. Now you have a new process. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your own joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. We have Joel in the sales department here is getting it done on his back. He hiked 5 miles with his wife the other day. No pain. First time in years. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. Call for a free consultation today, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. My friends at QC Kinetics. Let's go to Gary, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Yep. Yeah. I wonder why they just don't call that stem cell surgery or stem cell injections.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's one of the options that they have there.
You know why I think it is, Gary? I think it's because people don't understand stem cells. They think that's really weird. And so that's my guess, is that whatever the testing is behind the phrasing, that has found to be more of a barrier than someone. But I'm just guessing, man.
Oh, okay. But back on your topic, yeah, this whole thing about, African American, Indian, Italian, Irish. I mean, why does that doesn't matter to me? A person is a person. It might be interesting to know your background, but it has nothing to do with qualifications for a job or
Gary,
who you are.
I agree with you on that, but do you think the left gives certain weight now to particular races? Look, I don't want to go into the history of the Democrats right now at this point in the show, but they seem at this point to give almost like bonus points if you're a particular race. Then
I don't notice that one side of one party or the other. It seems to be the same. But I tuned into that interview because when I heard Trump is going to talk to a bunch of African American journalists, I knew it was going to be an S show. I just knew it, and Trump did make it an S show. He just didn't rise above it. He just needs to. The Democrats have him nailed. He's now Weird Donald. Weird is his adjective.
What made him weird yesterday?
Just the way he went on these tangents about why did he even raise the thing about her and quote turning black. What does turning black? It sounds like you got a good tan or something. That's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah, it is a weird thing.
What? I don't know what's going on in his mind, but I think he's pointing out that she embraces whatever race is necessary for her at that moment.
But what? That's just weird to even bring that up.
But you don't think it's weird she does that?
I haven't seen data or a film clip or an article where she does that.
I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say I have no problem with it. And I know people that do that all the time based on shared ethnicities. So I don't think I find no problem with it. And that's why I'm cautioning Republicans, careful with this. This thing's going to boomerang in your face.
Not him, but do you think the black community finds any issue with it?
Nope, not in the least.
You don't think so?
Nope, not at all. Not in the least. Nope, especially because she went to a historically black college. She's a pledge to AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha, which is the oldest black sorority in America. She was, I believe, when she went to her marginal law school, she was the head of the black lawyer group, whatever it is on campus there. It's not as if she hasn't been part of the community. And they have people that go back and forth. There are people of multi-ethnicities. So no, I don't think it's a big deal at all. And the issue is, and that's why I say this is going to boomerang, because by making it issue, you're telling the community that you want to vote for you that you think it's an issue when they don't agree with you. Danger, 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 Will Robinson.
Gary, appreciate the call. We're just out of time. We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
So who's exploiting race in the presidential election? Is it Kamala, who switches from being an Indian candidate one day to a black candidate? Or is it Donald Trump by claiming Kamala is just a DEI hire? What do you think? Let's go to Larry Inglewood. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, morning, Larry.
Yeah, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. Hope you're doing well. What's on your mind, man?
Right. I just wanted to real quick and get you guys' feedback because we was talking about the interview yesterday with Trump at the reporter thing. But my observation, tell me where I'm wrong, but a lot of Trump's supporters feel like any questioning about his behavior, they always feel it's hostile, whether it be a judge, a lawyer, a Gold Star family, a reporter, generals, even other Republicans. So anything coming in, it's always to him that, he will have a reflection on his behavior. It's hostile. And
yeah.
I mean, and that's been everything I've been looking at. So am I wrong?
I mean, Larry, I don't think that, I think it's verifiable that journalists do not treat Donald Trump the same way they treat Joe Biden. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh, well, yes, in a way. Let's look at this piece then. What I'm going to say to this, what it feels to me, and then that's where I don't really get it with the caretaking of Mr. Trump, is that his supporters seem like they love him. They see him as like a massive monster truck. So when he goes around and he's crushing people with whatever he's saying, whatever's going, and the more he crushes people, the blood and gore politically, they're clapping. And they'll say, yeah, crush him. But if he gets a little fingernail scratch, it's like it's all. And I don't do that.
Larry, that is amazing insight because we've talked about how the GOP wants a fighter and likes the fact that Trump gives it to everybody and doesn't take any crap. And then when he's put in an uncomfortable situation, yeah, you're right. He reacts that way. And then we talk about how Donald's fifis were hurt and how we need to treat him very nicely.
Nobody talked about how Donald's feelings were hurt.
Yeah,
it's just about a media that is double standard and then runs out there and claims to be news.
Well, the only thing I said about that, and then earlier we were talking, and then I want you to just kind of, if you can, just really think about, because every time what people do, they'll make excuses for him. It's just like when I had my 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and then I would say, well, he meant that. He meant to say that because he really couldn't. It's like that's the way they're treating Donald Trump. Well, he didn't mean that. He meant to say this. He meant to say that. He really didn't say that. But it's like you treat him like a target. But
That's interesting.
Everything be correct.
Well, Larry, I appreciate the call.
Man.
We're
Thanks.
just running out of time here. Larry Inglewood, definitely call us again. Hey, it's been a wild show.
So much fun.
We were going to cover a lot of topics.
We had so many other things planned.
Talked about Donald Trump.
But again, that's because of our listeners, because you guys got on the phones,
that's
on the text messages, on the emails. It was unreal the number of messages we got from you. Thank you so much.
It blew up today.
Amazing.
Which was great. We love you all. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Now go be productive.